72 degrees, clear skies in Charlotte, North Carolina. 2 years ago, the Panthers went to the Super Bowl, where they lost to New England. They come out onto the playing surface tonight as they get ready to take on Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football. Al Michaels along with John Madden and Sam Ryan. Welcome to Charlotte. We were talking to Panther coach John Fox last night. He said these two teams are like two hungry dogs. Well, the Panthers are hungry because they're 1-2. That one was a win over the Super Bowl champion Patriots, but that was sandwiched in between losses to New Orleans and Miami. If they lose tonight a quarter of the way through the season, they'd already be 3 games behind Tampa in the NFC South. Meanwhile, if Carolina is hungry, Green Bay is ravenous. They are 0-3. It is their worst start since 1988 when Lindy Infante was the coach. The Green Bay Packers come off 2 excruciating losses at Lambeau Field the last 2 weeks, to Cleveland by 2 points, to Tampa Bay by 1 point. As they seek their first victory tonight, John, a lot of people around the league seem to feel that Green Bay could be in serious trouble. Is that an over-exaggeration?
Yeah, I think it's pretty close because the cupboard's getting bare. They don't have a lot of great players there. And you talk to Mike Sherman, he's talking about penalties and turnovers and eliminating them, and that's part of the thing. But I think the other part is they have to be able to run the ball. You know, the last 5 years, the Green Bay Packers, we always think about Brett Favre throwing the ball, but they have been a running team. Then when Amon Green can run the ball, then Brett Favre can do his movement passes, his bootlegs, and those types of things, and that's when their offense is the best.
And Amon Green carried the ball 33 times in the opener here last year, leading Green Bay to a win. As far as the Panthers are concerned, they were the hip and trendy choice. A lot of people said they will go to the Super Bowl because they're healthy this year. They finished very strongly last year. Was that overstating that case? Are they that good?
Yeah, it probably was a little overstatement, but I can see where it came from because the Panthers have good defense. They have great special teams. And if they can get some consistency on offense, there's still a possibility. Now, they have Steve Smith. He is a special, great player. Jake Delhomme right now isn't playing with a lot of consistency. But if they ever get someone else offensively to go with Steve Smith, this could be a special team.
Well, they lost Musa Mohammed to free agency to Chicago, so Steve Smith is the guy. He comes off a tremendous game last week. Despite the loss to Miami, he had 11 catches and 3 touchdowns. Panthers-Packers on Monday Night Football. And into the action like no other camera. Green Bay's Brett Favre, 0-3 for the first time in his career. Now in his 15th season, draws on off-the-field experiences to get through the rough patches.
We have a 16-year-old daughter, and what I think may be cool, I find out from her and her friends, is not very cool. And the way I dress is not the hippest way to dress. And I think football is a lot like that. You know, it's always changing. And to try to stay up with the times is very difficult, but it's a challenge. It's a fun challenge.
Again, John, one of those early season games, the winner's going to feel a lot better than they do coming into the game. The loser is going to really be shaking their collective head saying, uh-oh, we got problems.
You know, and both of these teams have been having trouble, I think, getting over the hangover of their last loss, especially the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they were talking last night, I thought, and still talking too much about their last game. I think, you know, you can have a loss and maybe give it 48 hours, but after that, you have to get on to the next one. I'm not sure either of these teams have done that.
Green Bay will get the ball. John Casey to kick off. The kick will be taken at the 1-yard line by Terrence Murphy. Murphy, a rookie out of Texas A&M, is taken down at the 16-yard line by Wesley, and Brett Favre making his 209th consecutive regular season start in a streak that began in September of 1992. So the streak more than 13 years running at this point. And they'll start with Green in the backfield. They have Vontae Leach as the fullback. And he'll lead the way for Green, but Green goes nowhere. Taken down by Mike Rucker. Let's take a look at the Green Bay offense.
Brett Favre
The University of Southern Mississippi.
Hamon Green, University of Nebraska.
William Henderson, North Carolina.
Robert Ferguson, Texas A&M.
Donald Driver, Alcorn State.
David Martin, Tennessee.
Chad Clifton, Tennessee. Adrian Clem, Hawaii.
Mike Flanagan, UCLA. William Whitaker, Michigan State.
Mark Tauscher, Wisconsin.
And another tackle. Kevin Barry's going to see a lot of action as a third tackle. Number 71 to provide more leverage for the running game, but the first pass of the night is incomplete. Intended for Donald Driver. Favre throwing his patented fastball. Might have been tipped. It'll be third down.
You know, it's interesting what the Panthers are going to do is when they go with 71, they're going to come in with 5 defensive linemen. Here's U71, Kevin Barry. When he comes in, they're going to bring in, instead of playing him with a safety or a linebacker, they're going to play him with an extra or 5th defensive lineman.
Now Favre will operate out of the shotgun. Third down and 10 from the 16-yard line. And Brett under pressure, and he loses the ball, so he gets sacked. He loses the ball, and Carolina recovers. Mike Rucker, who made the initial tackle on Green on the first play, gets in there and dislodges the football, and Kendall Moorhead recovers for Carolina.
Yeah, Rucker was the first guy. Julius Peppers coming from the other side. Mike Rucker's number 93. He's going to run right by number 76, Chad Clifton. And you see, he gets that backside of Brett Favre. Here's Julius Peppers. He's coming from the other side on Tauscher, and they both start in a sprinter stance and meet right at Brett Favre.
That is Green Bay's 10th turnover of the season. They have one takeaway. They're already -9 on the turnover chart. And they'll give the ball to Davis, and he gets taken down before he can turn the corner. That's Nick Barnett, the middle linebacker, third year out of Oregon State, their #1 pick in '03.
You know what Brett Favre is thinking there. We talked earlier about how he has to get the running game going. They run on first down, and they don't get anything, and then they bring in the extra tackle on second down, throw a pass, it's incomplete. Now they get third and long, and the Packers just aren't strong enough anymore to be able to protect it and have Brett Favre drop back and throw the ball.
Mike Sherman's team needs a defensive stand early on. Deshaun Foster comes in as the running back. Davis comes out, and Delhomme will have 4 receivers in this set, and they're going to give the ball to Foster. He goes through the middle, and he takes it down to the 2-yard line. Davis is their heavy-duty guy, and then Deshaun Foster will spell him. We'll see a lot of Foster tonight.
That was a pretty good move there. What they did is they go 4 wide receivers and got the Packers in dime defense, and then that really opens up the middle because it spreads out the defense. Now, if you can get the middle linebacker the way they got Nick Barnett there, you are going to have some running in there.
And a good block thrown by Mike Wall. Number 68, a lot of talk in Green Bay about the fact they gave up Wall in free agency. He winds up here to help solidify the Panther line. Third down and goal. From the 2, the fake to Davis. Delhomme on the roll. Gets a block. Throws into the end zone. Caught. Touchdown. Chris Mangum, the tight end. And that's the first time in 4 games that Carolina has scored first this season.
Big block by 2-time Rays, number 76. You're going to see him pull out here and get a block right there that lets Jake Delhomme get to the outside and make that option runner pass. Here's Mangum. He's just running against a linebacker there. And again, because Jake Delhomme was able to get to the outside, he bought a little extra time.
Mangum's first touchdown of the season. Casey for the point after. And we've played only 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and already Packerland is nervous. Very nervous. 7-0 Carolina. Downtown Charlotte. No speed limit tonight. Najee Davenport back to receive. John Casey to kick off. All ready for the second time. Davenport hauls it in at the 3-yard line. And Davenport comes out to the 29-yard line. Talking about the Green Bay turnovers. Last week, Favre threw 3 picks. They also fumbled the ball once. So there it is tonight. -8 in the first 3 games, -1 tonight. So -9. The turnover differential right now is the worst in the league.
You know, I think part of that is the situations they got in, like that last 3rd down, having to get in shotgun on the road, tackles can't hear, and then getting behind and Brett Favre forcing passes.
Yeah, they come up in the power I, which you don't see very often, and run it to the short side of the field where Manning takes down Green. And let's take a look at the Panther D.
Julius Peppers, North Carolina.
Brenton Butler, Clemson University.
Jordan Karstens, Iowa State.
Mike Rucker, University of Nebraska.
Brandon Short, Pennsylvania State University.
Dan Morgan,
The U,
Will Witherspoon, Georgia.
Chris Gamble, via Iowa State University.
Marlon Creek, Atlantic High School. Mike Mentor, Nebraska. Ken Lucas, Ole Miss.
One guy they're missing, the defensive tackle Chris Jenkins, hurt on opening day, gone for the year. As Favre throws, and it's caught by David Martin, the number 2 tight end. He's number 1 tonight because Bubba Franks is hurt. Franks last week missing the first game of his career.
You know, we were talking about the Packers and not being able to run or not running well. To me, that's one of the big problems. They talk about having new guards, losing their guards. That's part of it. You know, a different offensive line, chemistry and all that. But they don't have a blocking tight end.
Favre out of the shotgun, 3rd down and 3. Fumbled on the last 3rd down out of the shotgun, which led to a Carolina touchdown. And this time it's an inside handoff to Lamont Green. The Green takes it across the 40, and that will be a first down as Julius Peppers, number 90, makes the tackle.
Yeah, we talk about Green Bay having to get some running game going, and that whole series. In fact, Ricky Manning Jr. is just coming out now, but the Panthers played him that whole series with nickel defense. 5 defensive backs, so you have to be able to run to get them out of that, and that's what the Packers just did.
Brett Favre making his 28th Monday Night Football start. That'll be 36 next Monday. Quick flip to Driver, and Donald Driver is able to break a tackle and is taken out of bounds. Chris Gamble was shoved aside, and he takes it up to the 47-yard line, short of the first by about 3. For Brett Favre, so many spectacular performances Monday, Sunday, Saturday, Thanksgiving, you name it. But so far this season, 5 touchdown passes and uncharacteristically 7 interceptions in 3 games.
Yeah, I think he's pressing, and I think he's a little frustrated, and he's not exactly sure where everyone is going to be on every play and those kinds of things.
2nd and 3, and that time the protection's very good, and Donald Driver does not make the catch. He was juggling it, and the umpire came in and said, never had possession. So it'll be 3rd down. Driver and Robert Ferguson are now the key receivers for Favre because they lost Javon Walker, who would have been their number 1 wideout, and there he is. He got hurt opening day, and he's on injured reserve.
I think he's going to have surgery next week.
He is. He's going to Houston, in fact. And Sam Ryan will have a chance to talk to him before this night is done. 3rd down and 3 from the 47-yard line. And Favre will throw, and that's caught on a slant by the rookie Terrence Murphy, and he picks up the first down. So another Green Bay conversion. Dan Morgan, the middle linebacker, in on the stop.
You're going to see Terrence Murphy out here on Chris Gamble. And again, that's that slant. And once you get to the inside like that, Brett Favre is going to complete that pass. I mean, you have to get right now and come in there. Brett Favre takes that 3-step drop, and you better get rid of that ball quickly because Julius Peppers is going to be on you shortly.
First down at the 45-yard line. And the ball is given to Green, who breaks a tackle with some good hard running. Amon Green, who had no run in the first 3 games longer than 13 yards, breaks a Marlon McCree tackle and picks up a first down at the 34-yard line.
You know, there's 3 levels of defense. You have the defensive line, then you have the linebackers, then you have the secondary. And you can see right here the problem earlier was that he wasn't getting to that 2nd level. You know, and then if you don't get to the 2nd level, then you don't get into the 3rd level. That time, the way he got to the 3rd level was by running over the 2nd level.
He got to that 3rd level on opening night last year, and he carried the ball 33 times for 119 yards and 3 touchdowns. Favre throwing, and that is behind Ahman Green. He couldn't make the catch, and then Witherspoon came in and bangs himself on the helmet. He could add an interception and possibly a touchdown. John, talking about previously in running the ball, as you can see, and look at that, back in 2003, 160 yards per game, as opposed to half of that in 2005, 79 yards per game. Big drop off.
Yeah, and that's when they're the best, and that's when Brett Favre is the best.
Davenport is the running back in this set. Najee gets it. Flag is thrown. It's the first of the game. And Julius Peppers is there to make the stop. And we'll introduce you to the referee tonight, who is Mike Carey, one of the best in the NFL.
Offside defense, number 90, lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Peppers.
Yeah, and this game is making history tonight, Al. This is Don Carey, Mike Carey's brother, and this is the first time in the history of the NFL that two brothers have done the same game.
And the reason is Don Carey is not on Mike's crew. Normally he's on Tony Correnti's crew. But the back judge on this crew suffered a pulled calf muscle last week. Correnti's crew was the crew that was off, so they took that back judge, who is Mike's brother, and put him on this crew. And that's how that happened. Second down and 5. Favre rolling, and then he's going to throw that away, but he's also going to get a flag for defensive holding Chris Gamble guarding Donald Driver.
You know, that's what the Panthers were talking about on defense, that you have to plaster all the time because Brett Favre still moves very well in the pocket.
Illegal contact. Defense, number 20. From the previous spot, 5-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
I said holding. Of course, that's a euphemism for illegal contact. Same thing. Automatic first.
Well, Brett Favre was trying to throw the ball earlier to his left, and then he comes back here later. He starts to scramble, and then this is the plaster. Gamble starts to plaster, and in plastering, he holds the guy. You see how Brett Favre starts to the left now? As he's doing this, he's buying time because that was supposed to be a short, quick pass to the left, and it became a deeper pass to the right.
Good plastering job right there. Here is Ahman Green, and Green with some hard running again takes it down to the 21-yard line. That's a gain of 4. Nice looking drive, which has consumed close to 5 minutes for Green Bay at this point.
Yeah, that time the Panthers brought in a 4th linebacker. It was Chris Graff. So if they play 2 tight ends, the Panthers are playing with 4 linebackers taking a corner out. If they play U71, put Kevin Barry in, they're playing with 5 defensive linemen.
Second down and 6. And Favre throwing. It's caught inside the 2-yard line, and a touchdown for David Martin. David Martin going high in the air. He can be a wideout in the tight end's body. 21 yards for the score, and Green Bay comes right back after the turnover that had led to the Carolina touchdown.
You know, I said that David Martin wasn't a good blocker, but this is what he can do. He was a wide receiver turned tight end, and Brett Favre, they started off in bunch. He runs a corner pattern. Brett Favre just throws it up there. David Martin goes up and gets it.
Beats Dan Morgan, the linebacker, with the coverage. Longwell for the point after. They've been having holding problems, but not that time from B.J. Sander. And so Favre, after the fumble, comes right back, marches his team 71 yards in 10 plays, and we're tied at 7. Aerial coverage tonight brought to you by Goodyear. As you look down into Bank of America Stadium. Panthers have now been in the league 11 years. They came in '95. This is the 4th time they have hosted a Monday night game here. Rod Smart, better known when he was playing in the XFL as He Hate Me, will run back the kick for Carolina. Longwell sends it down to the 5-yard line. Smart brings it back up to the 23-yard line, and that's where Carolina, after the Brady Poppinger tackle, will take over. Delhomme and company going back to work halfway through the opening period. 7-7. Bank of America Stadium in downtown Charlotte, North Carolina. Panthers capitalizing on an early Green Bay turnover. start with Brad Hoover and Nick Goings and Stephen Davis, 3 backs, with Goings going in motion from the 23-yard line. And Stephen Davis runs right into Cullen Jenkins as we take a look at the Carolina offense.
Jake Delhomme, Louisiana Lafayette.
Stephen Davis, Auburn.
Brad Hoover, Western Carolina.
Steve Smith, Utah.
Kerry Culver, USC. Chris Mangum, Ole Miss.
Travell Wharton, South Carolina.
Mike Wall, Naval Academy. Jeff Mitchell, Florida Gator.
Tuton Reyes, Ole Miss.
Jordan Gross, Utah.
Jordan Gross out of Utah, their #1 pick in 03. Mangum is the man who scored the touchdown. 2nd down and 14 after the loss of 4. And through the middle goes Brad Hoover for a gain of a couple. 3rd and long. Here's the Green Bay D.
Aaron Campman, Iowa.
Grady Jackson, Knoxville College.
Cullen Jenkins, Central Michigan.
Kabir Bajabir-Miller, San Diego State.
Niall Diggs, The Ohio State University.
Nick Barnett, Oregon State.
Rob Thomas, UCLA. Lloyd Carroll, Arkansas. Mark Roman, Louisiana State University.
Nick Collins, Bethune-Cookman College.
Al Harris, A&M Kingsville.
Nick Collins, a rookie, 2nd-round pick out of Bethune-Cookman. 3rd down and 11 at the 22-yard line. Delhomme spreads them out. Here come the Packers. Put the rush on. Had him by the leg. It is caught, juggled by Smith, but he's well short of the 1st down. Steve Smith coming back. Nick Collins was the guy who deflected it, but it will be 4th down, and in comes the punting unit.
He got a good rush from that left side, and that's what kind of made Jake Delhomme bring the ball down and then get it out there quickly. And when you get it out there to Steve Smith, even though it's a short pass and it's kind of a nothing thing like this, he is such a great runner with great balance that you can sometimes get some big things.
Punt taken at the 25-yard line by Antonio Chapman, and Chapman gets run out of bounds by Rod Smart up at about the 34 after a 51-yard boot and an 8-yard return. 7-7 in Charlotte. A beauty next Monday. We go to San Diego. The Chargers coming off that win yesterday at Foxborough, taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh against San Diego next Monday night. 7-7 in Charlotte as the Green Bay Packers have it for the 3rd time. Mike Flanagan, the center, an abdominal strain. He goes out. Scott Wells is now the center. And Green picks up 2. Michelle Tafoya on maternity leave. So we welcome in Sam Ryan. Hi, Sam.
Well, hello there, Al. You're talking about Mike Flanagan re-aggravating an abdominal strain. Now, this Green Bay offensive line struggling with continuity problems this season. The update on Flanagan, he's having problems running there on the sideline, so his return is questionable for this game, Al.
And, you know, John, as I look at that with Wells in there, you know, the big story, one of them in Green Bay, has been the 2 guards that are gone. Rivera going to Dallas, Wall coming here. Now they're minus the center.
Yeah, and then Chad Clifton just got hurt on that last play. And you know, to me, if you look around the NFL and you look at teams that are struggling, they seem to be struggling with the offensive line. You see Chad Clifton, Ahmad Green came in and just rolled up the back of his leg, and now he has to come out of the game. And he's the guy that has to block Mike Rucker, and that's going to be a tough job.
Ray Rudiger goes to left guard, and Clem is going to play tackle here, at least for a few plays, as Ahman Green takes the ball up to the 47-yard line. So take a look right now at this gerrymandered offensive line of the Green Bay Packers with Clifton on the bench.
Yeah, and that's a tough thing. So as you say, that puts Adrian Clem then at the left tackle. Scott Wells is playing center. Ray Rudiger comes in and plays left guard. And this has been one of the Packers' biggest problems, is the chemistry of the offensive line. And now, you know, in the first quarter, they're already discombobulated.
2nd and 7, and here is Green. And one of the reasons, because of what's been going on that offensive front, the Packers come into this game averaging only 3.3 yards per carry. And Green, who's normally well over 4, comes into the game averaging only 3.6.
You know, we talked about it earlier, but I always add the tight end to the offensive line, too. And so you take those offensive line problems, and then you take Bubba Franks out of there also. And this is really an adjustment for this Packer team.
Eventually, have to put it back on Favre's shoulders.
No wonder he's turning gray.
Yes, very gray. 3rd down and 4, and he's going to go deep, but too deep. Ferguson's going to turn around and say he was held, but he'll get no flag, and they'll punt. Chris Gamble with the coverage.
When Brett Favre still gets upset with himself. I mean, that's what he plays this game for, you know, to hit those deep passes, and he sees one, and he knows that he had a chance to hit that one, and it was just a little too much on it. Yeah, I'm watching him throw the ball, and he has as much zip as he's ever had. I know that they're 0-3, and it's easy to say Brett Favre is done, but he still has the same zip in the ball that he's always had.
B.J. Sander, who was a 3rd-round draft choice last year, punts to the 14. Fair caught there by Steve Smith, and the Panthers will have it with 3:36 to go in the opening quarter. Green Bay 7, Carolina 7. Full house in Charlotte. More than 70,000 looking on as their Panthers 1-2 on the season. Need a win to stay 2 games back at Tampa Bay as the Bucs went to 4-0 yesterday on top in the NFC South. One good thing for Green Bay is that the NFC North, everybody is staggering. So if they win tonight, they're 1-3 and right back in the mix. From the 14-yard line, here is Stephen Davis going nowhere. Stood up by big number 75. Big as in 345 pounds. Grady Jackson.
And when you have Grady Jackson in there in the middle, you aren't going to go anywhere when you run up the middle. You talk about a run stuffer, a guy that is just going to sit in there, and you aren't going to run up in there. That's Grady Jackson. Watch number 75. Just takes on the guard, helmet and hands, just stuffs that whole hole. He just takes the guard and just puts him right back into the running back. Stephen Davis is saying right now, hey, this isn't any fun, man.
It's like a man against boys. And Stephen Davis is 230 pounds. And this is Deshaun Foster, who played his college ball at UCLA up to the 17-yard line.
Deshaun Foster is saying, well, I saw what happens if you go straight up the middle. That doesn't work, so let's kind of work out to the left a little and get off tackle and not try that center.
Defensive coordinator for Green Bay is Jim Bates. Remember, Jim was at Miami, the defensive coordinator under Dave Wanstead. When Wanstead stepped aside midway through last season, Bates was the interim head coach and, in fact, led Miami to that big win at the end of the season against New England on Monday Night Football.
And that's what he's worried about right there is Steve Smith.
And he should be worried about him because Smith makes the catch when everybody knows they're going to go to him and picks up a first down on a 3rd and 7. Steve Smith has scored 4 touchdowns this season and has caught almost everything thrown his way.
And Jim Bates was saying last night that we want to get hands on Steve Smith on the line. Steve Smith is too quick. I mean, they have him double. Al Harris is short. They have a safety over the top. And Al Harris went to get both hands on him, boom, and Steve Smith just went right by him.
A year ago, remember, Steve Smith in the opener in the Monday night game broke his leg and was gone for the season. Now the handoff is to Deshaun Foster. John was talking about the passing game, and not that they relied on Smith, but take a look at this. Through the first 3 games of the season, they've thrown to him 34 times. All of the other wideouts, just 25. He's caught 23. The other wideouts have caught 6. He has 4 touchdowns. The other wideouts, none.
And, you know, last time when the Packers played him a year ago, Al Harris followed him all over the field. They're not doing that tonight. They're going to keep Al Harris right, and although Steve Smith is lining up on the left side now, he's not lining up on Harris's side, but they're just going to double him all the time.
Final minute of the period, 2nd down and 8, and Delhomme will throw, and it's caught by Kerry Colbert. Colbert caught 2 balls in the first game, none in the last 2, despite throwing to him about a dozen times. And they've got to get him back into the flow, and they do here for a gain of 14.
Yeah, and that's the thing that they're going to have to do. If they're going to double Steve Smith on the other side, and they're going to get man-to-man out here with Ahmad Carroll, you have to find the guy that has man-to-man on him and get the ball to him. Dan Henning knows that, the offensive coordinator of the Panthers, and Jake Delhomme knows that, but you also have Steve Smith out here, and you know, he's a pretty interesting guy to get the ball to, too.
Number 43, off the play fake, that buys time, good protection for Delhomme, throws and that is juggled and not caught. Smith covered by Al Harris on the play, and that stops the clock with 15 ticks remaining in the period.
I'll tell you, you talk about what they're going to do to Steve Smith, and in doing that, they had Nick Goings wide open down the middle. Watch this. Steve Smith comes up. He's going to run that corner. No one covers Goings going inside. Two of them come off with Steve Smith.
Second down and 10 at the 43. Game tied at 7. Waning moments of the first quarter. Packers show blitz, and here they come. Delhomme is protected, gets the pass away, and that is caught by Colbert. So Colbert, who hadn't caught a ball in 2 weeks, catches 2 in the final minute of the quarter and is a little bit short of the first down. They'll wind the clock once they set it ready for play, and that should be the end of the first period. Colbert, number 2 pick out of the University of Southern California last year. And that will be the end of the first period. Green Bay 7, Carolina 7, and Monday Night Football resumes after this message and a word from our ABC station. Charlotte, North Carolina, as we conclude week 4. Al Michaels, John Madden, and Sam Ryan. Brett Favre, Jake Delhomme. The matchup tonight, Packers-Panthers. 7-7 after an early Green Bay turnover resulted in a quick Carolina touchdown. Favre led a 71-yard march, and right now as we resume play, 3rd down and 2 at midfield for Carolina. It's Ricky Prohl, number 81, going in motion to empty the backfield. Delhomme throwing, and you're going to get an interference call right here as Ahmad Carroll, who is prone to penalties, prone to interference calls. Right there, I mean, that's, well, if you're going to put it on the tape and say that's pass interference, that's the play you'd show.
Right, and I think they finally found out.
Defense, number 28, at the spot of the foul, automatic.
That Al Harris isn't really playing Steve Smith. They're just playing right and left, and Steve Smith had always been lined up on the other side. This time he lines up on the right side. Ahmad Carroll, number 28, is covering him. And you see that he goes and chops that left arm down before the ball gets there. You say that is a textbook pass interference.
They had 4 penalties called on him in the first game, and they benched him last week at the start for Joey Thomas. Now they bring him back. That's a 26-yard penalty, and on first down, it's Davis cutting it back, and Steven to the 19-yard line. You know, John, we were talking about Carolina, a lot of people saying that they were a Super Bowl team. I think part of that was they got there 2 years ago, and then last year they had so many injuries. They had a 6th-string running back, Nick Goings, who played well down the stretch. They won 6 of their last 8, so the natural progression would have them doing well this year.
Yeah, and then they had Muhsin Muhammad, who had a big year last year. Steve Smith was injured. And then now had they had Muhsin Muhammad back along with Steve Smith, this would be a special offense.
2nd down and 7, and here is Davis. But you can't have your cake and eat it too. Muhsin Muhammad became a free agent. He wanted to test the market. He was from the Chicago area and wound up on the first day of free agency signing with the Bears. But you're right, that would have been some duo if John Fox had both of those guys.
I was talking to Dan Henning about that the other day, and he said that last year when he lost Steve Smith, then his puzzle was he had Kerry Colbert, and he had Ricky Prohl, and he had Muhsin Muhammad. So those were the 3 guys he had to work with. This year he has Steve Smith, but now he doesn't have Muhsin Muhammad. So that's the 3-man puzzle he's working with.
Henning, one time the head coach of Atlanta and San Diego. 3rd down and 6. From the 19-yard line, and Delhomme has to take a timeout. Foster was into the game, and he went in motion, and according to Delhomme, shouldn't have. So timeout taken by Jake. 3rd and 6 when we come back. $73,000 at Bank of America Stadium gets settled in for Monday Night Football. And right now, those 73,000 watching the Panthers in the red zone, where Jake Delhomme has been very good. Hasn't thrown an interception in his last 137 inside the 20. Chad Pennington would have the longest current streak at 141. 3rd down and 6 from the 19 after the timeout. And the pass is caught, and it's caught by Deshaun Foster, but he is taken down. And then the crowd wants a flag for after the play. Paris Lennon makes the tackle, and they knocked him down just short of a first down, as you can see, by a yard or even less.
I think some of the things that the Panthers are doing on this drive is using Steve Smith as a decoy. They got him lined up over here on the right side, motion to that side, and then threw back to the left side.
Delhomme is pleading his case with Fox. He's saying, come on, let's go for it.
And Fox should say to him, well, if you would have thrown the ball a yard deeper, we wouldn't be in this predicament.
They're going to measure just to buy time here. I love it because a quarterback will always go over. If it's a real yard, he'll go over and he'll have his hands about 12 inches apart, not 36.
Yeah, there's a hands apart. I always said, why do you have to show the whole world? Because then if you want to kick, they're just going to boo you. You know, just say fourth down. That's all you have to say. This is what the left side looked like. We talked about what they had back on the right side. That's where Steve Smith was. They get the coverage going over to this side. See the double coverage over here. Now you know that you have to have something back on that other side. With a yard short.
Good tackle by Lennon. Here's John Casey, a 32-yarder, and that kick is just good with a capital J. Casey, one of the very best in the league. He's made 3 from 50 and beyond, but that one is just good. And Carolina just leads by 3. Mike Sherman has been the Green Bay coach since 2000. This is his 6th season. John Fox was the defensive coordinator of the Giants. Came here, inherited a team that went 1-15, and then goes to the Super Bowl in Fox's 2nd year. This is Najee Davenport bringing in the kick at the 6-yard line and bringing it back up to the 22-yard line, and we go to Sam Ryan.
And now the Packers offensive line just banged up. The latest Chad Clifton, you saw him out of the game limping before. The word on him, he has a sprained left ankle. He left the game. He's having x-rays on that ankle. They actually taped it up. The trainers were working on him for a while. He tried it out, but he just can't go, Al.
So Clifton gone. Flanagan is out. We talked about the changing of the guards. Most starts to get the same 5 offensive linemen. Green Bay 32 between 2001 and 2004. And Kansas City, the equivalent of 2 full seasons. But a whole other story now. Green. And 4 hard-earned yards up to the 27. You know, John, it's interesting that the Packers have played almost 200 minutes this season, and they've led for 6 minutes. 6.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you talk about the pressure on Brett Favre, and, you know, as great as he is, it's tough to do. You know, you're playing from behind all the time, then you have to make a play, you have to make something happen, then you start forcing things. And you start forcing things, and you get turnovers.
Larry Beckdo is paced in blue on the sideline, and that's caught a yard shy of the first down by David Martin, who scored the earlier touchdown. It'll be 3rd down and 1 as Martin makes his 3rd catch, and Favre is 5 for his first 9.
You know, we were talking to Mike Sherman last night, and he says that, you know, he calls the plays, and he said he likes to run 7 or 8 times per quarter. And then you get to the 4th quarter, and if you're ahead, you run more, and if you're behind, you just play the 4th quarter. The first quarter, the Green Bay Packers ran the ball 8 times, so he's right on schedule.
All of them for Green. Green has now carried a total of 9 for 28 yards, 3rd down and 1. Green normally excels on 3rd and 1, but not here. Not with that patchwork line, and not with that on-rushing Carolina line and linebacker in Dan Morgan. Morgan charging through. One of the first to hit him, and it's 4th down.
Well, the Panthers brought their 5 defensive linemen in. This is what they call Cinco. And then you're going to see Dan Morgan. He's right here. So the linemen tie up that front, and then the linebacker can run through and make the tackle. And Dan Morgan does it perfectly. I mean, he gets in the hole, and he hits him as square can be.
Adam Stewart there as well. 4th down and 2 now at the 31-yard line. And the punt, DJ Sander, and the left-footed kicker with a line drive kick that will be run back from the 26-yard line by Steve Smith, receiver extraordinaire, and a good punt returner as well. He stopped at the 31-yard line. That's where Carolina will have its next possession. 10:39 of the half. 10-7 Panthers. 10-7 Carolina as the Panthers take over at the 31-yard line. Jake Delhomme is 6 out of 7, but for only 41 yards. They've really done not too much on the ground. Packers show blitz, and one of those guys coming through is Niall Diggs, who stops Stephen Davis in his tracks.
Niall Diggs hit that one perfectly.
Jake Delhomme with one of those Trent Green type careers. He sits on the bench. He's with the Saints. He makes only 2 starts between 99 and 2002. Comes over here, leads the Panthers to the Super Bowl. Throws an 85-yard touchdown pass, Super Bowl record, 211 yards in the 4th quarter. Since the beginning of the 2004 season, however, 8 wins, 11 losses. Louisiana Lafayette. Second down and 12. Rod Gardner, the ex-Redskin, comes into the game as a wideout. And Davis trying to find something. Davis coming off knee surgery last year. Johnny played in only 2 games and had what they call that microfracture knee surgery.
And John Fox says that he's just getting back into football shape. I mean, you can be in cardiovascular shape, then you have to get into football or hitting shape. And we look at Jake Delhomme. When he calls plays, he calls them off a wristband. And it's interesting, and all you have to do is call a number. In fact, there's a copy of the wristband that he uses. You see there's empty or quad. That's 4 wide receivers, red zone plays. Those kinds of, they have 130 plays on that wristband that Jake Delhomme uses.
And you need 20/10 eyesight to read that thing. And that is caught over the middle by Deshaun Foster. And Foster takes it at the 50. And Foster takes Earl Little for about a 27-yard ride. Little had his hand on his shirt, but that's all he could do. And he takes it all the way down to about the 20-yard line, a 47-yard play.
I tell you, they spread them out. The Panthers spread out, so the Green Bay Packers were in the dime defense. You're going to see Deshaun Foster. He's the 3rd guy in. He comes straight up the middle, and there is no one there to cover him. Earl Little is trying to get him down. He can't get him down, and they finally get him out of bounds. You see, he's pulling that arm and trying to reach for the ball. That's why you always keep the ball in your outside arm, because had that ball been knocked out, it would have been knocked out of bounds.
Timeout taken by Carolina. 8:35 remaining first half. Panthers by 3. It was 3rd down and 7 at the 34, and then Foster makes this catch at about midfield. And this, they don't keep records obviously for this, but this may be the longest continuous contact with a guy you can't tackle. Almost a third of the field, almost 30 yards from the 20-yard line.
That's either great running or terrible tackling.
Both. And it's caught by Gaines for a touchdown. Michael Gaines, one of the tight ends. And the Panthers go from 3rd and 7 at their own 34 to the end zone just like that. First catch of the season for Michael Gaines, and the first touchdown of his career. 2nd year out of Central Florida.
Well, you know, they knew that they had to mix it up tonight and not go to Steve Smith all the time. So far, they've been doing an excellent job of mixing it up.
2 touchdown passes for Delhomme, both to tight ends. Casey has that one blocked, so that's the first missed kick, either extra point or field goal for Casey this season.
And you're going to see this touchdown, and it's almost a pick here. Michael Gaines is going to be, he's right here. He's in the stance here. Here's Gardner. As they come off together, they do form a pick. You see right there when they cut right now. This forms a pick, and then Gaines is going to come out the other side of it wide open. That's not bad. If you're a defender, you call it a pick. If you're on the offense, you call it a rub.
It's better than any pick I've seen in the NBA. That was beautiful.
We just rubbed off. They said that they wanted to get Rod Gardner more involved too. You know, I think after last week where Steve Smith had 3 touchdowns and did everything, that they wanted to get a lot of other guys involved, including tight end, you know, including the running back, Deshaun Foster. We saw that, and that was kind of their game plan tonight, and is working very well this first half.
Carolina up by 9. Delhomme is 8 out of 9 for an efficient 107 yards. After that yardage to Foster on 2 catches as Davenport is back to receive. Cullen Jenkins was the guy who blocked that extra point. Jenkins of Green Bay, the younger brother of the injured Chris Jenkins of Carolina. And that's a one-hopper fielded up at the 9-yard line by Terrence Murphy. And Terrence Murphy gets tackled up at the 22-yard line. Brett Favre. He'll turn 36 next week. And just to put something in perspective here, Dan Marino holds the record for most touchdown passes. But if you go back to 1 week prior to his 36th birthday, Marino had 369 and then threw 51 after that birthday. Favre at 381. So for what it's worth, Favre right now on a pace to eclipse Marino. Of course, it all depends on how much longer Brett wants to play and how efficient he's going to be.
Yeah, I talked to him about that before the game in the field, and he said he's not sure how much longer he wants to play. He said but getting records is not going to be part of his decision.
From the 22-yard line, Favre guns it over the middle, and Driver has to slide down but can't make the catch. Ball a little underthrown. He slides down, and there's a flag down back at the 18-yard line.
And that's in the area of offensive holding.
Holding. Offense number 67. 10-yard penalty is still first down.
That's Gray Rugemer.
Ray Rugemer is now in there at left guard. We saw how that started. He's the, in fact, he wasn't even active last week. One of the reasons that the Packers suited up 8 offensive linemen tonight is because they were worried about Mike Flanagan. Well, Flanagan goes down, Scott Wells has to come in, and when Chad Clifton goes down, Gray Rugemer has to come in.
Teams, as you just saw, run the same number of plays, but the Panthers have been a lot more effective. Favre is going to swing it to the outside, and that's not going to get very much, even though there's a busted tackle there. Bonte Leach is the fullback. He plays in place of William Henderson from time to time. Brandon Short couldn't make the tackle, and he picks up a few extra yards.
In fact, it looks like he's playing more and more for William Henderson. I think they're kind of phasing him and phasing William Henderson out. They, you know, anytime they need a lead blocker now, they get in short yardage or goal line, they're bringing Bonte Leach in.
2nd and 17. Here comes Henderson back into the game. Henderson out of North Carolina, so he's come home in his 11th season. He stays in the block, and the catch is made over the middle by Henderson. Up past the 40, and Henderson to the 48-yard line. So they don't run him very much. In fact, he ran with the ball for the first time since 2002 last week and fumbled, but he makes the catch here, and that's good for 32 yards.
I tell you, they run that angle pass that they used to run all the time to Green, and he just goes in motion. Then he's going to come in and then angle in right here in the middle. Brett Favre hits him perfectly once he gets by that defensive line and in front of the linebackers.
Got a block from David Martin on the play. First down from the 47-yard line, back to the ground to Green. It's spun down there for a gain of 2. Tackled at the 49-yard line as we tick down to 7 minutes to go in the half.
Yeah, we talk about how important Amon Green is to this offense. When they're really going well, Amon Green was not only rushing well, but he was catching those things like that angle. That was his pass pattern that Henderson just caught there, and that check down. You know, Brett Favre would go, he'd look downfield, look for everything. If he didn't have it, he could always come back to his security blanket, who was Amon Green.
Green does not have a catch tonight. In fact, he comes out. Tony Fisher comes into the game. There's a flag down, and there's a flag down that stops the play. And the flag is on this side of the field at the 48. Mike Carrick.
False start. Offense, number 70. 5-yard penalty still. Second down.
Adrian Clem.
Adrian Clem has had to move from guard out there to left tackle and block Mike Rucker. So that's a tough matchup, and then you get that, you know, that passing thing, and you think you have to get a jump, and you kind of get a jump before the ball snaps.
2nd and 13 from the 44-yard line.
He's going against Al Wallace now.
Four-man rush, and they get heat on him, but he gets it away, and it's caught by Green. First grab of the night for Amon Green. Takes the ball to the 48-yard line of Carolina. That 5-yard shy of the first.
And that was Adrian Clem against. We were just looking at that one. Al Wallace saying that he was in there for Mike Rugger, and he just went right by Adrian Clem. Knocked his helmet off.
Ooh. Whitaker takes it from Mike Rucker.
That's the rookie right guard. Welcome to the NFL.
I'll say 3rd down and 5, and that's going to be enough for the first down with Terrence Murphy, the rookie out of Texas A&M. One of their 2 second-round draft choices in the April draft. Let's go to Sam.
All right, Al, Javon Walker joining me right now. First game of the season, the torn right ACL. You're going to have surgery on Friday in Houston. What timetable are doctors giving you as far as when you can return football-related activities?
Obviously, it'll be next year. The rehab is going to be 8 to 12 months, but, you know, football is a rough game. But I'm looking forward to knowing that I can come back next year and hopefully pick up where I left off.
The early rehabbing you'll be doing down in Houston. Now, a lot was made public about your contract during the offseason. You wanted to renegotiate. There was talk of a holdout. However, you did come back. You said that there are a lot of what ifs. What if you didn't come back? Why did you come back?
Well, you know what? I mean, I love the game of football. So, you know, I didn't see myself missing a whole year. You know, it was just to get my point across of what I wanted to do with my contract. Obviously, I don't regret anything that I've done. If I had to do it again, I would do it all over again. And, you know, when I come back next year, you know, they just better be ready because I'm going out to play and let everything take care of business.
But during that time, Brett Favre spoke out publicly. He said, I know he's under contract. I know we need him. He should be here. What were you thinking when Brett made those comments?
Well, I mean, the comments really didn't bother me. Obviously, I know who he is. So, you know, he wanted his receiver out there. Obviously, you know, with the way the season's going, you know, you want your best players out there. But the comments didn't affect me because I'm my own man. You know, I'm going to do what I want to do. And if that's what I was going through at the time, you know, obviously, it didn't affect me. You know, I think more people got bothered by it than me.
Thank you, Javon. Good luck with the surgery, Al.
Thank you, Sam. That was Marlon McCree who got his hand inside the helmet, and that was the 15-yard penalty after the catch by Ferguson. And this is Green now taking it to the 19-yard line, so the Packers get into the red zone. Go back and take a look now at the personal foul on McCree. Mother McCree.
John Fox is saying that's a bunch of baloney. What did they call? Did they call horse collar?
I don't know what they did on that one. 15 yards.
I don't think it was a horse collar unless it was just that he hit him with his fist in the back of the head.
2nd down and 7. Green tries to stretch it out and can't. Taken down at the 20, and you get a flag down here at the 18-yard line.
The Packers are having trouble running against Cinco, which is the 5 defensive linemen that the Panthers use here. They used it this down, and they used it the down before.
Holding, offense number 80. 10-yard penalty and still 2nd down.
Donald Driver. The call was unnecessary roughness officially on that McCree violation.
It must have been when he brought that right hand across to the back of the helmet. Here's Donald Driver's violation. That's a tough thing. You know, you want your wide receiver to block, and if you're going to get outside, wide receivers have to make a block. But they have to hold it for so long that they will end up holding much of the time.
2nd down and 17. 4 penalties against each team to this point. Under 4 minutes to go in the half in a 9-point game. Favre to Ferguson and has it taken away. Ferguson has it taken away by Ken Lucas, the ex-Seahawk. He looks to lateral, holds on to the ball, and he's down to the 48-yard line. So it looked like Ferguson was going to make the catch, and now there's a flag down at the end of the play at the 49-yard line. And another flag at the 34. So you have 2 separate calls here. There's a flag maybe before the snap.
I think that's
before the strip of the ball.
I think one of those was a horse collar. You know, that other one on McCree wasn't a horse collar, but I think we may have had a horse collar on this one. Always looking for the old horse collar.
You're always looking for that horse collar.
Robert Ferguson has had trouble, holding on to the ball, catching him. I mean, it's not. He can make a big play, he can make an average play, and then he'll make a poor play on you.
She's going to get two separate calls here. One at the 34-yard line. The other one came at the end of the play. All indications from Carolina is that they're going to have the football. Here's Carey.
There are two fouls on the play, both of them against the offense. The first one was a personal foul, major face mask, number 70 before the interception. Then after the interception, a horse collar tackle, which is another personal foul by number 23. From the other run, 15 yards, automatic first down.
There's your horse collar. Adrian Clem at first, and then after that was Lucas.
Yeah, you're going to look at this an interception and blame Brett Favre. He gets rid of that ball quickly, throws it on a slant. Ferguson has it, and Ken Lucas just takes it away from him. I mean, that ball is right on the money. That was one of the things that the Panthers were talking about, is they have to win more of those battles, and right there was the horse collar.
And that's on David Martin.
And you see what that horse collar does. I can see why that's a rule now. I mean, you see how they get in the horse collar and they get underneath those shoulder pads and they start to pull. The knees just go.
And that's become a very familiar sight on the Green Bay sideline. Favre and Ferguson. Another flag. You saw that come in as Davis makes the catch, and for the moment they're down to the 12-yard line pending the call.
You talk about ebb and flow. I mean, here the Green Bay Packers are moving down the field. Brett Favre has things going. You get an interception, then you get two 15-yard penalties,
Number 56.
and then you get another penalty.
First down.
That's Nick Barnett. Wow.
Vince Lombardi would say, "What the heck's going on out there?"
66 yards in penalties already assessed against Green Bay. And that was declined. It doesn't even count. Davis to the outside. Gets by Harris. Touchdown, Panthers.
Good running by Stephen Davis, and that's a terrible play by Al Harris. They talk about corners and things that corners have to do. You have to make a play in the passing game, but doggone it, you have to make a play in the running game also. When they come off that edge, then that's your guy. Al Harris has to make that tackle, and he just whiffed.
Davis to the end zone. Casey for the point after. Jason Baker to put it down, and with 3:19 to play in the half. Carolina Panthers have now scored 16 unanswered points to go up 23-7. Here's the TD.
Travel Wharton gets a pretty good block there, and Kabir Bajabia-Miller, and Al Harris just whiffs. I mean, that's just terrible. But it all starts with Travel Wharton. You see him right here. See, he hooked. Well, in fact, he hooked him because he grabbed Kabir Bajabia-Miller. Then they were able to get the edge. Now, once the runner gets the edge, then it's a corner's play. He's a force guy. And when he misses it and misses a force, it's going to be a touchdown.
Here's the setup. The takeaway by Lucas. The penalties that followed. Favre and Ferguson. And the Packers in danger of going 0 for 4 at the start of the season.
And I know what he's telling him. He's telling him you have to fight for that ball, and that's what the Panther defense was thinking in their first 3 games, that they weren't fighting for the ball when it was in the air. That's what they worked on all this week, and that's what happens on some of those. I mean, the ball's there, and it's who wants it. Who's going to get it? Who's going to fight for it the most?
You got a litmus test coming for the Packers. An 0-3 start to the season, down by 16, penalty prone. The offensive line is a mess. They muffed the kickoff. Davenport dropped it, but then it's picked up by Terrence Murphy to the 21-yard line. So next Monday we go to San Diego. What a scene that will be at Qualcomm. The Chargers, who could very well be 4-0 against Pittsburgh. The Bengals and the Jaguars. That turned out to be a good one. Good matchup. Bengals are undefeated. That's next Sunday on ESPN. You've got Terrence Murphy, who ran that kickback, is the injured Green Bay Packer, and we have an injury timeout. The rookie Terrence Murphy is still down on the field. He took a shot from Thomas Davis, the defensive back from Georgia, who was Carolina's #1 draft choice in the spring. And you'll take a look at the hit as the Packers kneel, thinking about their teammate right now, helmet to helmet.
I mean, Thomas Davis, number 47, just comes in and unloads on Terrence Murphy. And it, as you say, it's just helmet to helmet. I mean, he knocked the head back, the neck back, and everything else back on Terrence Murphy.
And Murphy hardly had time to brace because Davenport had muffed it, and then he picks it up, and then Davenport actually contacted him again, and by the time he's able to turn upfield, here comes Davis for the tackle. So a scene, unfortunately, that's become all too familiar in the National Football League. There's no foul on a helmet-to-helmet hit if it involves the ball carrier. And the run back man is in effect a ball carrier at that point in the run back.
Right, and that's one of the things, you know, that they're getting those helmet-to-helmet things out, but they haven't gotten that one out yet. And there are some, you know, collisions that just happen. Yep. And, you know, and that's one of them when, you know, a ball carrier is running and a guy is coming to make a tackle, and you just aim for anything that's there, and you end up helmet to helmet.
And two guys without a lot of special teams experience, rookie and rookie. And as I say, with Murphy, you've got a guy who all he's thinking about then is protecting the football, getting the football, collecting himself, and then starting upfield, and all of a sudden here comes Davis at full speed, helmet to helmet. So they will transport Murphy back to the locker room, and then I'm sure to a nearby hospital. Sam Ryan will get all the information for us as soon as we can.
And part of this is also precaution. I mean, that's one thing in the NFL. If there's any doubt, don't move it. We've always talked about this, how this is one of the, you know, tough things for all players. I mean, and coaches and everyone involved. I mean, you go out and you want to play hard, you want to hit, you want to be aggressive, you want to do all these types of things, but you don't ever want to see anyone not get up.
And as you say, right now everybody's trained to not move the injured player, not let him move, get him transported back to, at first, the locker room. And you and I talked about it, John. It's an amazing thing. You think about the fact that 20 or 25 years ago, they didn't have all the equipment. They wouldn't wheel out the gurney. Somehow they got these guys back. I don't know how they did it.
Well, you know, the other thing, years ago, they didn't have those big helmets and those big face masks. And the head and the helmet was never a weapon. And I think if there's ever any way that they want to take away some of these things, I think they can take away a little from the helmet. I mean, if you ever go and you pick up a helmet today, I mean, it's like a bucket. I mean, those helmets really have become weapons.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. I mean, it's there for protection, but it's also there as it's It's a lethal weapon.
Right. I mean, there was a day when they had no face masks, and obviously you didn't have these kind of hits, and then they had smaller face masks, and then as the face masks got bigger and the helmets got heavier, then that, as I said, becomes a weapon.
Well, we can only hope. I mean, a lot of times, I mean, we've done so many games through the years, and you've seen so many games that the longer it goes, the more severe you tend to think it's going to be. But fortunately, you know, we've been around long enough. We've seen enough of these that, you know, you can only hope and pray at this point. It's that same sort of situation where, you know, within 10 or 15 minutes, you're going to get some good news.
Yeah, because within the first minute, the trainer for the Green Bay Packers was out there, and he gave the signal to bring in that flatbed gurney. So he knew right off the bat when he got out there and saw Terrence Murphy that there was no way that they were going to move him until they got in this position here.
So with extreme caution, they will put Terrence Murphy on the gurney. Murphy played his college ball at Texas A&M. His hometown is Tyler, Texas. Good receiver. I mean, he comes into this game as, especially with Javon Walker now gone for the year, a guy who was beginning to emerge not only as a run back man for the Packers, but somebody that Brett Favre could work more and more into the offense as the season progressed.
He was inactive the first week of the season, and then brought in for games 2, 3, and 4.
So as soon as we can, obviously, we'll get you the information on Terrence Murphy. And as the play resumes now with 3:14 to play in the opening half, after that run back, the Green Bay Packers will have the football at the 21-yard line, down by 16. Fake to Green, Favre rolling left, and he just has to dump it off, and Green is closest to avoid an ineligible receiver in the area. Julius Peppers and Mike Rucker both came in from their end spots to put the pressure on Favre.
And I didn't know that Favre didn't get away with one there, because I think he really threw that one away. And he was getting pressured, running to the left, had no one tried to just throw it away back to the right side. With Terrence Murphy out now, the Packers only have 3 wide receivers on their roster.
Ferguson, Driver, and Antonio Chapman. Easy. Set up the screen for Amon Green, and that's a nice play because knifing in there was Brandon Short, the ex-Giant who played under John Fox when he was in New York, busting up the screen.
Yeah, we always talk about getting behind and how tough it is to play uphill. None of those things work. You know, the types of things that Brett Favre would be good at, play action pass, bootleg, screen, those kind of things. When you're down 23-7, they don't work because they're just waiting to play those things. They're not going for the run fake. They're not anchoring in for the run. They're playing all these other things. Watch the rush on this down.
3rd down and 9. They blitz. It's a little shovel pass, and that's a nice defensive play there by Al Wallace, who saves what might have been a 1st down. Had Green gotten loose. So a little shovel, and that doesn't work, and that's going to take us to the 2-minute warning.
See, the Packers are trying to go to their tricks now, but again, down 23-7, tricks don't work. The screen didn't work. The shovel pass doesn't work. Now, if they were up 23-7, this stuff may be going.
Down by 16, 2-minute warning, and Carolina is going to get the ball back after the punt in Charlotte. On the Toyota halftime show coming up, Tim McGraw with Week 4 highlights. 60 seconds with Jimmy Kimmel coming your way at halftime. 2 minutes remaining. Delhomme waiting his turn again. Jake has already thrown for 2 touchdowns tonight. He's 9 out of 10. B.J. Sander will do the punting. Second year out of Ohio State. Packers spent a third-round pick on him, and Steve Smith will run back the punt. High kick. Smith at the 26-yard line. Tries to get around the corner. Flag is thrown, as it almost always is when you run laterally as far as he does. Chris Draft downs him.
I thought that was a pretty good block.
Looked like it from here.
Yeah, Chris Draft just had that guy zeroed in, and he made a pretty good block, and they threw the flag on him. I think they're going to call it against the Panthers. But sometimes things will look good from up here, and then down there they look like a bad one.
Packers also, I think, want to fumble at the end of the play.
The punt returner, starts to retreat and goes back. He better be a great one.
The ruling on the field, as the runner was down by contact, they have the ball first down. During the return, however, there was holding on number 52. Excuse me, a block on the back by 52. 10 yards from the spot of the foul. They retain possession. First down.
That's Chris Draft.
And that was the block that from up here looked pretty good. Let's watch it. It's number 52. I guess he got him in the back.
You got Tony Fisher in the back.
Well, that was an illusion.
I think Don Carey, Mike's brother, made that call. He said, "Brother, listen to me. It's on 52."
To make that call, the official has to see the whole thing, because sometimes the head will start out in front and you're okay, and then as the guy keeps running, it ends up behind him. So the official has to see the whole action.
Panthers have already used 2 timeouts, so they only have 1 remaining. They're at the 11-yard line with 1:46. And they'll start on the ground, and it's Deshaun Foster for a gain of about 3. Update on Murphy. Sam, what do you know?
Well, he was taken to the locker room for some x-rays on his neck. The good news is he was alert. He was conscious, Al. He did have some tingling, some numbness in his extremities. They are going to check it out. But there was some slight movement in his fingers. He was able to wiggle his fingers a bit if need be. If the x-rays, if they don't see what they like, they may take him to an area hospital for further x-rays and an MRI, Al. That's the latest.
Thank you, Sam. So a promising initial report. Let's hope it keeps getting better. Monday Night Football being brought to you by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of Super Bowl 40. Anheuser-Busch, smooth and refreshing Bud Light. Great taste for your great times. And Career Builder. Visit the largest job website, careerbuilder.com. A better job awaits. Not for us, John. This job is about as good as it gets.
You're right. It doesn't get any better than this. Now, you wonder what Brett Favre's thinking, though, huh, Al? That, talking to him again on the field before the game, I'll guarantee you there's a lot of things going through his mind, and a lot of it is frustration. Not having his guys around, not having the full complement, being 0-3, thinking you have to do more. But if you're doing everything you can and you're giving 100%, how can you do more?
No. And now faced with a 16-point deficit, and you just saw in that graphic what his record is when he falls behind by like figures. Deshaun Foster will carry the ball out to the 25-yard line. Delhomme's going to go without a huddle. Clock running with 1:17 left.
What you try and do is sometimes you just run the ball and you try and get a little air, and then if you get a little air, then you hurry up and start to throw it.
Little sidearm shot. Foster starts to break out of the pack, and then Harris comes up to take him down up at the 28-yard line. Joey Thomas put the heat on that time on Delhomme.
Well, Harris made that tackle on that one that he should have made on the touchdown run.
Panthers just 1 timeout. On 2nd and 7. And they try to get the field goal range. They have one of the best in case you have a flag thrown here, as Foster takes it to about the 33.
Offense number 68. 10-yard penalty is still second down.
That's Mike Wall, the ex-Packers. So that's going to take them back. And Fox watching a potential field goal opportunity go away here.
And John Fox is probably also saying, with that penalty going back there, let's just run the ball and run the clock out and go in at halftime and be happy being 23-7.
And now if you're the Packers, you've got 2 timeouts. So do you want to stop the clock and force a punt before the half?
Yeah, I would. I mean, that's what I'd try and do, and I'd try and do that rule, you know, a free kick after a fair catch. I would try one of those things. I would try and, you know, blitz them, throw them for a loss, take a timeout, and you know, you have to try everything you can in these situations.
2nd down and 17 from the 17-yard line. Delhomme's going to throw, swings it to the far sideline or toward Chris Mangum, and incomplete. So that does the Packers a nice little favor. It stops the clock, and it creates a situation where if they stop him here, they take a timeout and they will get the ball back.
Yeah, when I saw John Fox take off that thing, I thought that he wasn't going to. Watch Bajabiamila here. He's you know, he's kind of a speed rush guy. So what he did on that one is he just used a bull rush or a power rush, and he ended up down there on all 4s. You usually don't expect that from Kabir Bajabiamila.
3rd down and 17 from the 17-yard line. Davis will take it to the 22. Green Bay will take a timeout. 27 seconds. And the ball will be at the 22-yard line.
I think it's probably too far, but again, it was that rule that, you know, I always tried to get in when I was coaching, was never able to do it. I saw it happen once. Paul Brown did it. And what the rule is here is if you have a fair catch, after a fair catch, you can have a free kick. And the free kick means that the return team has to keep a 10-yard restraining line. So it's a play that's in the books, and I don't know. I mean, if it's a short punt and they could get it at midfield, it could be a possibility.
Yeah, we had that in a Monday night game. We had a possibility. Even with time expiring, Dallas had the opportunity to go for it about 5 or 6 years ago. But right now they'll get the ball back and try to work it into conventional field goal position. And might have a chance here after that line drive kick, and Chapman will take it to the 49, and there are 2 flags that come in at the end of that play as Dante Wesley makes the tackle. 19 seconds now. So far ready to go to work, but first.
During the return, illegal block on the back by the receiving team, number 36. 10-yard penalty, they keep the ball. 1st down.
That's Nick Collins. First half recap. Brett Favre with 107 yards, 1 touchdown, but a pick. Jake Delhomme has hit 2 different tight ends for the 2 touchdowns and has been efficient. Green's been fairly well bottled up here. Only 32 yards, 12 carries. Carolina running backs 117 from scrimmage. So Carolina took the early lead. Green Bay quickly tied it up, and now Carolina has scored 16 straight points, and Green Bay at least tries to get into field goal position from the 39-yard line. Favre will dump it off underneath. Here's Green looking for a block. Green will take the ball up to the 47-yard line. Green Bay has 1 timeout, and they have to take it right here. So you need to stop the clock, which means you have to work the sideline, and you're going to need about 17 or 18 yards to give yourself some sort of a chance.
Yeah, I was surprised at that last play, a screen pass. That's not the type of play that you can get out of bounds on, and so I think that they should have thrown what you just said. They should have thrown on the last down, but their last 3 plays have been screen, shovel pass, screen, and maybe it's a pass protection thing, maybe it's a settling down type of thing. I'm not sure, but in this situation now you have to get the ball up the field. And I don't think shovel passes and screens are really the answer, unless the question is, do you just want to go in 23-7?
They have 11 seconds. They reset the clock. Ball's at the 47-yard line. You need almost 20 yards to give Longwell a chance for a 50-yard field goal.
And the Panthers are playing a soft defense here. They're only rushing 3 guys right here, and they're playing 6 defensive backs.
Favre is rolling. He's going to throw deep. He hopes for a penalty if nothing else, and instead he's going to get an incomplete pass. You've got Driver coming down with a football, but he is out of bounds. Chris Gamble covering on the play, the cornerback, and you have 1 second. Mike Minter also back there as they doubled him.
Yeah, that's a pretty good play, though, because he had to buy time. He knows that he's not going to get a lot of protection, so he just kind of sprinted or darted out to the right side. There's about 6 hands on that ball at the same time. And as you say, Driver did come up with it at the end.
That would have been a phenomenal catch in the middle of the field. That would have been unbelievable.
Now look where those 3 defensive backs are. They're down inside the 10-yard line. There's no way that they're going to let them get to the goal line.
Favre now looking for a wing and a prayer instead of a little dump off, and he's lucky that one wasn't picked off. Nobody turning to take a look at it, and Al Wallace, had he been a little bit more alert, might have been intercepted it and run it back for a touchdown. And that's the way a yucky first half of the Packers ends, but the Panthers are pretty excited about it. They lead 23-7. Toyota halftime show coming up next after this word from the NFL and a Carolina is hungry. Green Bay is ravenous. Throws into the end zone. Caught. Touchdown. Inside the 2-yard line and a touchdown.
So far, they've been doing an excellent job of mixing it up.
And Foster takes Earl Little for about a 27-yard ride.
Welcome to the NFL.
Davis to the outside. Gets by Harris. Touchdown, Panthers. And back to the Piedmont to Charlotte, North Carolina. Al Michaels, John Madden, and Sam Ryan as we start the third quarter and conclude week 4 of the 2005 NFL season. The Carolina Panthers trying to go to 2-2. Green Bay trying to avoid going to 0-4. And Rod Smart will receive the kick. Brett Favre in the first half, 13 out of 21 for 118 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Ryan Longwell descended skyward on this 70-degree evening. And that kick just does get into the end zone. Near the boundary, out to the 20-yard line it will go. And Jake Delhomme, who threw 2 touchdown passes in the first half, will go to work. Packer injuries, the big story in the first half. Started with the center, Mike Flanagan, abdominal pull. He had to come out. Chad Clifton, the tackle, got hurt. Niall Diggs got hurt toward the end of the half, the linebacker, and then the big injury was to Murphy. And we'll update you on that with Sam Ryan in just a second. From the 20-yard line now. First down, Paris Lennon is the new linebacker in place of Diggs, who does not start the third quarter. And Stephen Davis begins with a 2-yard pickup. And we go, to Sam in just a second. Sam, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I got a ton of injuries on the Packers. That was pretty much all their story in the first half. Updating first, Terrence Murphy. Just got word he was taken to the local hospital here in Carolina. He did not have x-rays here. He's going for a CT scan. He does have movement in all of his extremities. That news is good. You were mentioning Niall Diggs. He left towards the end of the first half. He is questionable with an MCL injury right now. As for the offensive line for the Green Bay Packers, Chad Clifton, we saw that left ankle sprain. The x-rays were negative. His return is doubtful. And Mike Flanagan, he re-aggravated that abdominal strain. It was bugging him during the week. He missed a day of practice with that. He's been downgraded to doubtful, Al.
As if Green Bay didn't have enough problems. Down by 16, staring 0-4 in the face, and that's Davis picking up about 5 to the 27-yard line.
Now, you know what Mike Sherman's going through now, that the toughest area, and we talked about this even before the injuries, the toughest area to really get chemistry is the offensive line, because there are 5 guys that have to work together as one, and it usually takes 2 or 3 or 4 years for that to happen, and then it hasn't happened here, and then you get guys hurt, and it's almost impossible to play offensive football without an offensive line.
Key to your running game, key to your pass protection. And that pass is incomplete, intended for Kerry Colbert. Colbert trying to get position on Al Harris, but couldn't, so 3 and out, and a good start for Green Bay to the second half.
And the reason they're throwing to Kerry Colbert over there on that side is we know that Steve Smith is drawn to double. So if you want to throw away from the double, then you have to go to the guy that's man-to-man, and Colbert has to make a play on that. I mean, when you get man-to-man and you're the guy that's man-to-man, you have to beat your man.
Jason Baker to kick. Antonio Chapman, you have a flag down. It's a very short kick. Flag down near the line of scrimmage. Mike Carey had a busy first half. 76 yards in penalties assessed against Green Bay. 55 against Carolina. It was 4th down and 3. So if it was against Green Bay, offside, it's a first down.
Illegal formation, offense, not 6 men were not on the line of scrimmage. That foul will be enforced on the dead ball spot, 5 yards, first down, timeout.
Fortunately for Green Bay, it wasn't. That's part of the new ruling. You can take it and the penalty attached to it. Favre in the pack. Go to work when we come back. Green Bay has the ball down by 16. Some of the numbers through the first 30 minutes of competition look fairly even, but two turnovers, and that's just been killing the Packers. The first one led to an immediate touchdown. So they've only taken the ball away 1 time, and they've given it away 11 times.
Yeah, those were the 2 things that Mike Sherman was talking about last night, were the penalties and the turnovers, and then you come into the game and you still have penalties and turnovers.
From the 41-yard line on first down. Favre flushed out. And then throws, and that is caught, and it is not caught, fortunately, as Amon Green juggled it, so no fumble, simply an incomplete pass. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, this is the type of pressure that in this place in his career Brett Favre doesn't need. You know, where you have no offensive line and you're going to be running for your life all night, and you just can't stand in the pocket. So he knows that, so he's going to make play action pass, and then he knows he has to get out of there, but he keeps working and working and trying to find someone, and that's probably the only way he's going to complete many passes.
Green. Yeah, I mean, Favre is going to have to buy out the Grecian formula concession if this keeps up.
At least he doesn't have to comb his hair.
He doesn't. He's not wearing that hat these days either.
No, I know it. And you just look at him, you know, this whole night he's kind of had that stare, and you know, I mean the game was always kind of a game to him, and kind of fun, and you know, playing in that way, and you don't get the, of course, when you're down 23-7 on the road, you know, it's tough to be smiling and having a lot of fun anyway.
And the year and a half that he's had on a personal level too. As Favre throws, and that pass is incomplete. Secondary did its work. He had to go underneath to Amon Green, and you can see the frustration evident right there.
And you can see that the Panthers know that they're going to push him, get him out of the pocket, and that he's going to have to throw quicker and shorter. And that's not the formula to coming from behind 23-7.
B.J. Sander to punt. Chris Gamble sets up at the 16-yard line to receive it for Carolina. Fielded at the 14. Gamble. Up to the 23. Carolina takes its 2nd possession of the half at that spot. 12:18 remaining in the 3rd. 23-7 Carolina. Julius Peppers, the number 2 guy picked in the draft a couple of years back, and a tremendous athlete. Played basketball as well as football up the road, up Tobacco Road in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, the great thing about him is he's a great pass rusher, but he also plays the run on the normally strong side very well.
His offense goes to work now, and the catch is made over the middle, and that is Michael Gaines, the tight end, the guy who's already scored on a pass from Delhomme tonight, taking it up to the 46 for a gain of 23.
Yeah, the middle has really been open all night for the Panthers, and the reason is we know that they're doubling Steve Smith. So in doubling Steve Smith, you have to have some other things open, and that thing tonight has been the middle of the field for the Panthers. Look at that.
Yeah, you take a guy like Gaines, inactive the first 2 weeks, didn't play last week, though he suited up, and tonight, key figure in the game. On first down, Foster to the 48-yard line.
It was an interesting thing. They started out in empty backfield, you know, and making them think it's going to be a pass, and then they brought Foster back in the running back position and ran the draw to him. So they were trying to invite the Packers on a strong pass rush and then hit them with a draw. The Packer defense played it well.
They're just doing enough. I mean, you look at the numbers, they're averaging, the Panthers, only 2.9 per rush. Seems like it's better, and maybe it's the fact they're up 23-7.
Jake Delhomme has made very good decisions tonight.
2 touchdown passes along the way. 2nd and 8. Keep it on the ground. Give it to Foster. Takes it into Green Bay territory. Gets to the 46-yard line. Cole makes the tackle there. It'll be 3rd and short.
You know, this is what happened. We were talking about Steve Smith, and they have to take him away because he has great speed. And you see what it does. They take the safety and they put him back here because they're going to double Steve Smith. So now that takes 3 defensive backs, and puts him out there. And then the Panthers look at that, and they can go up there and check with me. They see those 3 guys out there and say there has to be something here in the run game, and they go to the run play. But it's all started with this guy here, Steve Smith.
3rd and a deuce. Inverted wishbone in little college play. A little toss to Foster, and that's enough for a first down to the 43-yard line. That's a different look from John Fox's team. How have the Panthers' key guys been doing tonight? Well, Delhomme, effective and efficient. 11 out of 14 for 154 and the 2 touchdowns. They bottled up Davis tonight. Foster has caught 3 for 55 yards, and the tight ends have scored 2 touchdowns. Gaines and Mangum. Davis out again. They give you that 3-back look, but they break it here. The rookie Foe going in motion. Delhomme sets up, throws underneath. That's caught by Colbert. First down, out of bounds at the 25. Nick Collins runs him out. So Colbert, who'd been a big disappointment to this point this season, only 2 catches in the 3 games, has gotten back into the groove tonight. That's his 3rd grab.
And you say, why is Kerry Colbert so wide open? Watch what happens here. It's a blitz, and you see Steve Smith is running the coverage out there. So you have 3 guys off there, and then Colbert just comes right underneath. Now everyone is running off on this side with Steve Smith. Colbert gets underneath it, and there is no one there.
Colbert's the guy that hoping to pick up the slack with the Moose guy. And you see Muhammad to Chicago from the 25-yard line. A toss back to Davis. This series looks like something out of a college playbook, doesn't it?
Well, you know, Dan Henning really has him going now. I mean, he has the mixture he wants, and I think that, you know, again, I keep saying he's getting a lot of it from Steve Smith, that the Packers are so involved with Steve Smith and doubling him and tripling him that Dan Henning is seeing, okay, if they want to do this, boy, look, we can do this. We can go here. We can go there. We can go to the tight end. We can go to Colbert. And he's taking advantage of all the things that the Packers are giving him.
2nd and 6. A little more than 8 minutes to play in the 3rd. Little fake toss. Delhomme has some time and throws, and that one is caught but out of the end zone. Kerry Colbert trying to come down with it and was on the stripe. Ahmad Carroll was covering on the play, and coming up limping is Kerry Colbert.
Do you see that ball handling by Jake Delhomme? He looked like Brett Favre. He fakes it to the right and fakes it to the left before he throws it. Watch, it comes out here, fakes there, fakes back there, turns around, and then throws a deep one. And because he did so much faking and he held it there, he held it just a little too long. That was a heck of a catch.
Oh, yeah. 1 foot only. 3rd down and 6.
And good in college.
And that's dropped over the middle. Foster was there. That would have been a first down. And instead, in comes Casey in the field goal group.
Jake Delhomme has been very impressive because he's been so calm. You know, he has a tendency to get a little hyper, and sometimes, you know, things run away with him. And in fact, John Fox was saying, I just want him to be more consistent. He said he'll make some great plays, and then he'll make some bonehead plays. We haven't seen any boneheads tonight.
Casey made a 32-yarder. This one, 38 yards. And that one is good. The first one was barely good. That one right down Broadway. Carolina tacks on 3 more. 26-7 Panthers. Next Monday to San Diego. That's going to be a good one. Pittsburgh and the Chargers on Monday night. Sunday night, also a good one. The Bengals against the Jaguars. Cincy undefeated on ESPN.
You know, I think the last 2 weeks the Chargers have been playing as well as anyone in the NFL.
I mentioned before, John, they could be 4-0. I mean, they lose to Dallas. Tough one opening day. Had the lead at Denver. Ill-advised pass run back by Champ Bailey, the difference. They'll be 2-2 going into the game. Najee Davenport. It's taken down in the open field by Rod Smart at the 21-yard line. 7:45 remaining in the third period. 26-7 Carolina. Green Bay scored on its second drive of the game. And now Carolina, after the score was 7-7, has scored 19 straight points. Brett Favre, his last 21 months, in December of 03, his father Irvin passed away the night before that unforgettable performance against the Raiders. His brother-in-law died after an ATV accident. Wife Deanna was diagnosed with breast cancer. Most recently, the family house destroyed by Hurricane Katrina as Amon Green starts here. So for Brett Favre, you know, talking about how gray he's become and how frustrated he's looked, and with the ball club playing the way it is, and then you go through all that he's been through, you feel for him.
Well, you know, when you look at this team too, the cupboard has gone a little bare on them, and I think that's probably the thing on the field that bothers him more than anything. I mean, he not only lost you know some of his friends and the guys he hung out with, but you know, he doesn't have the type of players that he had.
The cupboard's a little barer for the moment because Amon Green went limping off. Tony Fisher comes in, and that pass is somehow caught by Donald Driver. Great catch by Driver with terrific concentration, and he's able to make the grab and pick up 24 yards, somehow getting it away from Will Witherspoon.
Will Witherspoon was right there, but don't think that Brett Favre still can't throw that fastball. I mean, he gets it in, and this is what happens when you get behind and your receivers don't get a lot of separation. You have to throw it in some pretty tight spots, and Brett Favre will do that.
And Driver knew he was going to get whacked by Minter when he made the catch. Here's Najee Davenport, who backs up Green. He finds nothing to the outside. Dan Morgan, the middle linebacker, makes the tackle with 6.5 to play in the third. Morgan, a Pro Bowler.
And he was one of the strengths of their defense last year and his first year in the Pro Bowl. But he has a good defensive line in front of him. And you have, you know, 4 big, strong guys. We're talking about Julius Peppers, you know, how well he plays the run. All those guys play the run very well. Then it's easier for the middle linebacker.
Second down and 9 from the 49-yard line, and Brett throws, and Davenport makes the catch, and as soon as he does, he's tackled by Morgan. Let's check in with Sam.
Well, Al, you were talking about Brett Favre's personal adversity. I spoke with his wife, Deanna, earlier today. She told me next week marks the one-year anniversary since she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Keep in mind, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. She told me Brett was her rock. He held her hand. He took her through. He did all the research for her because this came just a week after her brother was killed in the accident. She told me she had her last chemo treatment in January, the last radiation treatment back in March. She got a clean bill of health in June. She's going for more tests later this week, just a checkup, but she says she feels great, Al.
Oh, that's great news. And here is Favre, and you saw that Favre had taken that shot from Rucker, and he was in pain, and then he has to take off, and he picks up the first down. He is amazing.
I didn't even think he was going to be able to stay in there. As you said, in the down before, Rucker hit him, and he got up slowly with his ankle. So then he comes back on this down. He fakes out to the right. He fakes again to the right, has to bring it back, and then he runs it straight up the middle for a first down. You know, there aren't many quarterbacks who can do that, but his hand is so big and so strong that he can take that ball, start to throw it, and bring it back, and he did it twice on that play.
Shake off that hit, stay in with Payne, toss it back to Davenport. Davenport met by McCree. Rolls forward for about a yard. For the indestructible one.
You know, we're talking about Brett Favre, and look how big his hand. I mean, he has one finger on this end of the ball, and his other end finger is at the end of the laces. Now, because that hand is so big and so strong, he can do things with pump fakes or just start the throw and bring it back that very few, if any, other quarterbacks can do. Look at the difference between Jake Delhomme's grip and Brett Favre's grip.
Favre just envelops the ball. Second down and 8 from the 36-yard line. Over the middle. Caught. Henderson out of the backfield. And Green Bay needing a good drive to get back into the game, are in the process of one right now. As they move the ball down to the 26-yard line. 54-yard drive to this point.
Yeah, Mike Sherman to call in the plays. And this is a tough thing because you have a patchwork offensive line, so you always have to think of protection first. You know, how are we going to protect it? Now when you get it protected, then how do you get guys out and get them open? And this is not an easy thing for the coach or the players.
From the 26-yard line. Favre throws, hits Driver inside the 10, and Donald Driver will take it to the end zone to get Green Bay back into the game. 26 yards. And the Packers go 80 on the drive to make it a 13-point differential pending the point after.
John Fox said, I told you guys you have to hang in there with this guy. Donald Driver is up on top. He's going to come in and run the slant. Brett Favre throws a fastball right at his back shoulder. Donald Driver catches it and runs right through their defense. And now the Packers are going to go for 2.
They'll go for 2 to try to make it an 11-point game, which would be a touchdown, a 2-point conversion, and a field goal instead of making it a 12-point game. Driver with his 5th touchdown in his last 6 games against the Panthers. So they'll try to make it an 11-point game with a 2-point conversion. They empty the backfield. Now they'll put Fisher back in there. He stays in the block, and Favre will throw, and it goes through the hands of Antonio Chapman. So it remains at 13, the differential. 26-13 Carolina. 3:06 left in the third in Charlotte. Only Dan Marino has thrown more touchdown passes on Monday Night Football. Dan threw 74. Brett making his 28th Monday night start, and that was his 50th career touchdown pass.
Isn't it something on Monday night in the history of the game?
Yeah, laps the field on some. Rod Smart is going to take off with it, and Rod Smart with a flag down, and a flag is down as Smart is out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Will Mike Carey deflate the crowd?
Offside on the kickoff by the kicking team, number 52. That foul will be assessed at the end of the run. First down.
No, he won't. Monday Night Football brought to you by Rocky Mountain Refreshing Coors Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Snickers, home of the Snickers hungriest fan, and Walt Disney's Cinderella Special Edition, rated G, first time on DVD October 4th, otherwise known as tomorrow.
That was a big play by Rod Smart and the Panthers there, because the Packers were just coming back, starting to get a little life in them, and then boom, he hits them with that return.
Good year with the aerial coverage. It's a 60-yard return plus a 5-yard penalty. And Delhomme sets up, throws to the outside, caught by Brad Hoover. Crowd going Hoover. Paris Leonard makes the tackle. Hoover against Green Bay on a Monday night game in 2000 as a rookie because of injuries. Got to play a lot at running back and gained 117 yards.
That's when they started that Hoove. There's Rod Smart. Big play.
January 9th, 1977. John, what were you doing on January 9th, 1977?
That was Super Bowl 11.
Yes, it was.
Oakland Raiders, Minnesota Vikings, Pasadena, California. Raiders win Super Bowl champion.
You were getting a ride. A famous shot. Stephen Davis to the 19-yard line. Yep, that's amazing to think about that. And then Rod Smart. I think Frank Tarkenton was saying he hated me.
Hey, you see a guy, you make a return like that, Rod Smart, and then you think he was born. I mean, he was born the day that we won the Super Bowl. So you look at him and say, this guy's been around for a long time. Well, it was a long time ago when we won that Super Bowl.
It's amazing. At the 19-yard line, first down, and Delhomme will throw toward Smith, and that pass is incomplete, and the official goes down as well. Nick Collins breaks up the play, and the side judge gets a little broken up as well. Side judge is Tom Finken.
I think Jake Delhomme has had enough patience here, and he says, I want to get a big one to Steve Smith. So even though he was double covered, which he's been double covered all night, Jake Delhomme threw that one to Steve Smith right into double coverage. Well, how long it is that a Super Bowl passes and how big a baby grows, huh?
Oh, boy. Second down and 10. Swinging out to Hoover. He takes it to the 11. I'll tell you another thing that makes you realize how much time has gone by, John. They played the Super Bowl on the 9th of January. Pretty soon they'll be playing it on the 9th of February.
Well, we're awfully close to that.
Right.
We're going to pretty soon it's going to be the 9th of March, and it's going to be in Mexico City or something. And you're going to have a decal that says football on it.
Football, in honor of the first regular season game played outside the United States last night. Arizona beating San Francisco before 103,467 in Mexico City at Estadio Azteca. Davis. And again, that smart run setting this up after Green Bay had clawed its way back on that drive. Carolina trying to answer with a touchdown drive of their own.
Yeah, gave him great field position, and then I'm really impressed with the mixture of the Panthers. I mean, this is when their offense is really good, when they can, mix up, throwing it outside, throwing it inside, throwing it to the tight end, and then get them spread out and get the running game going, get first downs, those kinds of things. This is when the Panthers, to me, are their best.
And as they're driving, they can let the clock run out. That'll be the end of the third quarter. Carolina 26. Green Bay 13. And Monday Night Football from Charlotte resumes after this message from our ABC stations. Fourth quarter in Charlotte, North Carolina. Al Michaels, John Madden, Sam Ryan as we wrap up week 4 of the 2005 season. Mike Sherman, whose team comes in 0-3. John Fox, whose team comes in 1-2. And the Panthers are up by 13 and trying to make it 20. Or 21 at the 7-yard line. Delhomme will throw. It is scooped but incomplete. Davis tried to scoop it. He's going to argue his point with the umpire. He's also going to go to the bench now, and he says, why don't you guys challenge this? I caught it. But the umpire says no.
You know, one of the other things that has impressed me about Jake Delhomme tonight is the time that he's getting to throw the ball. What do you think? He had it at one time.
He had it at one point. He comes up
and he has it there.
He has talked the bench into a challenge. You see, the minute he got up and he ran over to the bench, he's basically saying, come on, you got to challenge us. Now, he thinks he's made the catch, which he appears to at first. But then the ball, to me, looks like it hits the ground. In any event, the red flag is out. Mike Carey will go under the hood, and we'll be back. The play is still under review. Take a look at this. Some interesting components here. Number one, does he catch it? That's what they're looking for. So they said incomplete on the field. They would have to overturn that. He makes the catch here. Then the ball appears to hit the ground right there. He rolls over with it. But if Carey says he makes the catch, you can see he rolls into the end zone. He's not touched. So theoretically, it could be a touchdown. But you can't give him the advantage of, in effect, the roll into the end zone, the extra yardage. The play would be dead where he caught it, because in theory the whistle would have blown for an incomplete pass at that point. So if Carey were to say he makes the catch, he has to give him the ball inside the 1-yard line, even though he rolls into the end zone for what would appear to be a touchdown.
That official right here is looking right at it, so you would assume that when he calls it incomplete that he saw the ball hit the ground. Now, to me, it looked like he started to lose control of it, and it went down his leg rather than hitting the ground.
After review, excuse me, the tip of the ball hit the ground before he had clear control. Incomplete pass. Remains are calling on the field. Carolina will be charged with their first team timeout.
I'd agree with that, and that's one of those things where it's the indisputable visual evidence to overturn it. Since the call was incomplete, it remains incomplete.
Right, and like I said, that official was standing right there staring at it, so when he ruled incomplete was probably when he saw the ball hit the ground.
And Farrell, the umpire, so back it comes to outside the 6-yard line. It'll be second down and goal, 7 seconds into the 4th period.
Look what the Panthers are doing now, Al. They bring in Julius Peppers down here inside the 10-yard line. And they'll use him at tight end, but they'll also split him out like they're going to here as a wide receiver. In fact, Julius Peppers, all 6'7", 300 pounds of him, right here is in the slot.
Scary sight.
Dan Denny says this is an illusion as much as anything else.
Playing power forward. He looks in that direction, and he's going to go for him, and he's going to draw a penalty. So they go to Peppers, and it's Mark Roman who's all over him. Some illusion.
Well, I think that's one of the things that Jake Delhomme says that he'll look at. If they want to play him man-to-man with a defensive back, he'll throw it up.
Defense number 20. The foul occurred in the end zone. The ball will be placed at the 1-yard line. Automatic. First down.
No Roman Holiday. First and goal.
He sees it right here. Mark Roman is on him. He sees that he has man-to-man there, and he's just going to throw it up in the air to Julius Peppers. Roman plays that pretty well, though, because that's a way that a shorter guy can play a tall guy, is if you can't get it on the way up, get it on the way down.
It's a mismatch. It's the power forward going against the point guard there.
5'11" against 6'7".
First and goal. Davis is the running back. Davis is the ball carrier. Davis is the touchdown maker. '60-yard kick off return by Rod Smart. Set that up. Fox says, let's go for a deuce.
They're going to get a good double team right here. Boom, boom. And then Hoover is going to lead through. As we have the double team right there. Starts right there. Hoover comes on the lead.
6 touchdowns now for Stephen Davis this season. LaDainian Tomlinson leads the league We'll see LaDainian next week. He has 8. Going for 2 to try to make it a 21-point game. Delhomme into traffic, and it's intercepted in the end zone by Paris Lennon, so the conversion fails, and it remains a 19-point differential. Carolina 32, Green Bay 13. .16 seconds into the fourth period. Carolina from the 4-yard line. And he brings it back up to the 31-yard line. So Favre will try to work some magic. Down 32-13. The Packers have played 225 minutes and 22 seconds of football. They've led for 6 minutes this season. 6 in the Cleveland game. Never led against Detroit. Led for 6 against Cleveland. Never led last week. Have never led tonight. Down by 19. Favre going deep and too deep, intended for Donald Driver, who's covered well by Marlon McCree. And we go to Sam Ryan.
And now the injury is just the story for the Packers tonight. The latest, Ahman Green. He's right now questionable, sitting on the bench. He has a bruised right knee. Trainers did look at it. They did not ice it. They wanted to see if the condition would improve. Right now he's sitting, he's waiting. He's had 5 straight 1,000-yard rushing seasons for the Packers, pretty much the backbone to their running game. But injuries, as I mentioned, just the story tonight for the Packers, Al.
List goes on and on. Green limited to 2.6 per carry tonight. Ball at the 31-yard line. They give it to Davenport. Picks up 3, maybe 4 yards. Rucker makes the hit.
You know, that last graphic showing how long the Packers have been behind, that's really a definition of playing uphill. And then when you have to play uphill, then you start to force things, and that's when you get turnovers, and and bad things happen to you, and then you get injured. I mean, everything just kind of snowballs on you when you have to go uphill. And this is the toughest situation to play in when you're on the road and you're down like this and you have to make plays. The crowd's against you. It doesn't get any tougher.
And you're in the fourth quarter, and it's 3rd down and 7, and Favre's going to swing it to the outside, and nobody's even close. Intended for Antonio Chapman. Well, the San Diego Padres benefited from being in the National League West, and if you're in the NFC North in the NFL, you look at it this way: if you're Green Bay and you lose tonight, you're still only a game and a half out of first. Chicago and Detroit, each 1 and 2, each has had its bye. There's the Major League Baseball final standing. San Diego goes to the playoffs despite finishing 82 and 80. So there is hope.
Yeah, but you still have to win. I mean, I'm sure that's what the Packers are thinking now. Okay, yeah, we're in that division, but we haven't won a game.
You might only have to win 7 to get into the playoffs the way things are going.
Yeah, but to win 7, you better start by winning 1 somewhere.
Yep. At least you get to play each other a few times. That's maybe how you get to 7. 13:37 left. The linebacker Sam Mills, who later became an assistant coach here, one of the most popular of the Panthers in their 11-year history. Of course, he died cancer earlier this year. They honor him by wearing his number 51 on the helmet. Statue erected outside. Fought the insidious disease tooth and nail, as you remember, John, and succumbed to it earlier this year.
You know, Sam was an inspiration to a lot of people, and he's still an inspiration to these Panthers, because he was a guy that played 110%. One of those guys was undersized, but was all hard, as tough as you could be, gave back to the community. I mean, everything that is right about the world was Sam Mills.
Stephen Davis and linebacker Mark Fields is also battling cancer. More on that. Here's Sam.
Yeah, and Al, I spoke with Mark Fields just yesterday. He's in Phoenix right now. That's where he's been receiving his chemo treatments for Hodgkin's disease. It did return during the offseason, forcing him to miss this year. He told me he just had his last chemo treatment last week. It really knocked him off his feet. But, hey, he is remaining positive. That's the one thing I really took out of it. He intends on coming back next year. He said, I feel like Captain America. I'm so strong. I'm 240 pounds. He hasn't lost any weight. Now, he did tell me early this week he's going for more blood work. If all goes well, he's going to have the stem cell transplant. That'll take place as early as this coming Friday. Then he told me he's going to return to North Carolina in either December or January to start working out for next season. And he said his message to the fan, Al's, I will see you on the field in 2006.
Well, he played so well last year, he made the Pro Bowl.
Well, and John Fox was telling us the other day that in the offseason, before this reoccurrence, he was negotiating. They were negotiating to sign him to a longer-term deal. And he was part of their plans to be playing this year.
Eli Mills was a former Saint, and Fields also played with the St. Louis Rams. 3rd down and 6. Delhomme to throw. Gets hit as he throws. The ball is loose. It is picked up and then lateraled. And this is Barnett, and he's going to be taken down. It was Kabir Baja-Biamila who extracted the football. Cullen Jenkins wound up with it for a moment. And that's going to go as a turnover, and Green Bay forces only its 2nd turnover of the season.
Right, and Kabir Baja-Biamila, you're just going to see him explode right here. He gets both hands on Wharton, and then he brings his left arm under, and then he gets by him, and then he brings his right arm down on Jake Delhomme and hacks the ball out of there just as Jake is starting to throw it.
Step with me, guys, step.
That is challengeable, and so Green Bay is getting up to the line of scrimmage as fast as they can. And the challenge possibility is dead now. And Favre will throw to the end zone, and that is caught for a touchdown. That is Donald Lee. Tight end, recently picked up.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 99 of the defense, a blow to the head. The score is good. The foul will be assessed on the kickoff.
And Brenson Buckner, and you talk about a terrific minute for the Green Bay Packers. They get a turnover. They avoid a challenge. I don't know how it would have turned out. Lee gets the touchdown, and now 15 more yards on the personal foul.
Here's Donald Lee here. He's the tight end. As you said, they just acquired him. He runs a post pattern. There's not a lot of room to get that ball in there, but Brett Favre does. The safety, Mike Minter, is just about a half a step slow. See, the ball is there, and there's Minter.
So they go for 2 again to try to make it an 11-point game to get him within a touchdown, a 2-point conversion, and a field goal. And Favre will throw, and they do get the deuce, and that is caught by David Martin for the conversion. And so all of a sudden, the Green Bay Packers are breathing again.
Right, and it all started, they said they needed turnovers. Kabir Baja-Biamila got him the turnover.
32-21. Stick around. From Charlotte, Monday Night Football being brought to you by Nissan, reminding you to shift the way you move through the world. Autotrader.com, a smarter way to buy and sell a car. And Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler. Dr. Pepper, one taste, and you get it. Aerial coverage tonight being provided by Goodyear, looking down into Bank of America Stadium. All of a sudden, folks are a little nervous after things appear to be well in hand. And Green Bay will kick off from its own 45-yard line.
Which isn't a bad time for an onside kick. That would be a good play there, but they're not doing it.
Instead, he'll send it into the end zone. And Carolina will begin its drive from the 20-yard line. Let's go back to the Delhomme play, because we thought they might challenge it. We were looking at this during the commercial. It's the empty hand. The ball is going to come out before his hand starts to come forward.
Whether those defensive ends or those edge pass rushers, whether they're defensive ends or linebackers or safeties, are getting so good at coming in and hacking that ball. And then Brett Favre has always been good at this. I mean, getting down close to the goal line and throwing that slant in there, either to a tight end. You know, we think of Bubba Frank's always catching that one, or to a wide receiver.
So Lee makes his first catch as a Packer. 15 yards tacked on the kick off. Now from the 20-yard line, Carolina has to think about using some of the clock, and Deshaun Foster picks up 3. You know what? I always have to laugh because Jenkins winds up with the ball after Baja Biamila is able to dislodge it. And then it's almost like you're saying, what the hell am I doing with this thing? You're always looking to lateral it, and he did.
Well, you know, I think when you're down and you haven't had a lot of turnovers and things aren't going your way, you're always looking, you know, somehow we need a big play to win this game. And you go back to the Cal Stanford game all the time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the 6 penalties that weren't called on that run back.
Yeah. But I think what it is desperation.
Sure.
You know, I mean, desperation sets in and laterals come. 2nd
and 7. We revert to the street. Delhomme gets knocked off balance and then knocked down at the 20-yard line. So again, it's KGB who comes in and will get credit for at least part of the sack.
You know, and he's been kind of quiet early, but they got pressure from Baja Biamila, and then Aaron Campman on the other side. Watch him. He's going to come here, and he just gets a bull rush, and he just puts the tackle right back into Jake Delhomme. Jake Delhomme is trying to set up, and there's his right tackle, Jordan Gross, right in his lap.
Campman shoving his own man back into him. 3rd down and 10 from the 20-yard line. And Delhomme throws, and that is caught. And then it's Gary Colbert who picks up the 1st down. So on a 3rd and 10, what could have been a key defensive stop, Colbert catches it underneath and then is able to go north-south and pick up the 1st down.
Gary Colbert looked a little like Steve Smith. These are the types of runs that Steve Smith makes, you know, catching that ball and then not just being satisfied there, making that run, making those cuts, you know, start one way, cut back, know where the 1st down marker is and get beyond it.
And Deshaun Foster made that happen by blocking Mark Roman for that extra yardage. 9:40 left from the 31-yard line. And the ball is given to Nick Goings, who came off the bench last year when so many Panthers were hurt. Remember, they lost Stephen Davis for all but 2 games. They lost Deshaun Foster for about half the season. Steve Smith was hurt on opening night. It goes back to what we talked about at the top. So many key players were gone last year, and yet the Panthers won 6 of their last 8, and that's why a lot of people thought, hey, they get the guys back. The team is on a roll at the end of last season. They have a lot of the pieces in place. Trendy Super Bowl pick.
And they have a good coaching staff. I mean, you know, holding a team together and winning when things go against you, you have to give a lot of credit to coaching.
2nd down and 10. Little toss back to Davis. Nothing happening to the right. Maybe it's a little something going back through the middle up to the 32-yard line. Barnett at first, and then Paris Lennon to finish him off.
You know, when Kabir Bajamia-Miller got that sack and the fumble, that put a little life in this Green Bay defense. I mean, they were kind of playing a little lethargic, kind of catching, not playing real pressure, and then that happened, and they're starting to fly around now. And this is a different Green Bay defense right here.
Well, they gave up a 1st down on the 3rd and 10. Now they'll try to stop them on a 3rd and 9 from the 32-yard line. The long throws underneath, and this time the tackle is made before Hoover can pick up the 1st down, so they're forced to punt. And Favre, down by 11, will have the ball in his hand shortly.
You remember when Brett Favre years ago had all those comebacks and everyone would say, oh, he loves to be behind. He loves to play in cold weather. I talked to him about it, and he said, you know, I hate to be behind. I hate to have to come back. I hate cold weather. But you don't have an alternative.
It's all part of the mythology.
So, Brett Favre loves these situations. Brett Favre does not love these situations.
He'd rather be up 32-0
right
in Miami. Here's John Casey. Booming punt. Jason Baker, booming punt. 10-yard line, and good coverage on that as well. So Baker gets the punt away. Chapman is there to receive it, and Dante Wesley, who's been all over the place as a special teams maven, gets down there to make the tackle.
See what Baker did to that ball where it hit and then came back. You know, that's that old flop wedge thing or something that you have in golf where you hit the ball and then it spins back. Baker put that same thing on that punt.
The lob wedge, the 60-degree.
You know, it looked like these things used to hit, and then they'd always go into the end zone. Now, how do you make it hit, and instead of bouncing forward into the end zone, bounce backwards towards the field of play?
Only David Copperfield knows for sure.
And Fred Pupples.
Right, he's in the stadium tonight. From the 10-yard line, first down. Caught, Martin outside. And a 14-yard gain to the 24-yard line, spilled by Mike Minter.
Hey, one thing they say, you know, that Brett Favre is done or he's old and all these things, but you wouldn't want to have to be playing against defense, playing defense against him in these situations. I'm sure that's what John Fox is thinking now. Let's just get that clock going. Let's get this game over.
Because they let him back in the game on that turnover. First and 10 from the 24-yard line. Under 7 to play. And that's caught by Driver. And he'll get taken down by Mike Minter. That's a gain of 9. And Brett Favre tonight updating his numbers, over 200 yards. 20 out of 32 for 218.
You know, now he's starting to get a little time from this offensive line, and you can just feel that he has a rhythm. And when he gets a little time and he can step up like that, he can throw that ball faster and harder than anyone in the game. Yet today.
Second short one. Davenport, he'll get that one. And a couple more. Takes it up to the 37-yard line.
Ray Rigamer was the guard that pulled and got a pretty good push there. You know, that's what it takes. I mean, the Packers like to pull their guards. I mean, they run that counter play and they pull that off guard and one others and one kick out and one's lead. Rigamer came and kicked out pretty well on that last one from the left guard position.
From the 37-yard line. Towards the right side. Nice catch. Robert Ferguson makes the grab, and he's out of bounds up at the 44-yard line.
You know, you look over there in the sideline and you see Amon Green and say, well, you know, he's not in the game. That's not a big deal now because this isn't a running type game anymore for the Green Bay Packers. But Amon Green is a big part of their passing game also.
Ball up at the 45-yard line. Driver in motion. Favre outside, and Leach dropped it. Vontae Leach, the fullback, and that stops the clock with 5:08 remaining, and a big third down conversion coming up.
And that probably, as Leach catches that probably would have been a first down. You know, one thing, either this Panther defense is getting a little tired, or this Green Bay offensive line is doing a better job of pass protection, because in this situation they are giving Brett Favre some time. If they want to get back in this or get in this now, they need a big pass rush.
Those offensive numbers about as close as you can get. Third down and 2. Favre is fired over the middle. Vintage Favre, caught by Ferguson. He thinks he was untouched, but he was not. He is down at the 46-yard line, but that will move the chains as we go under 5 minutes to play.
And if you're a kid watching at home, that's not what you want to do. You shouldn't be up this late anyway, probably. But you know, running to your left, throwing across your body. There's only one guy that can do some of these things that he's doing, and that's Brett Favre.
In Hawaii, it's okay. Here's Favre rolling out, throws, and that is caught by Antonio Chapman. And he gets free and takes the ball to the 20-yard line, and Ken Lucas is there to make the tackle.
You know, and the Panthers talked all week about plastering. You know, that Brett Favre moves better or more than the pocket than anyone you're going to play against. So you have, well, I guess they play against Mike Vick, but I mean, he moves in that pocket, and you have to plaster because he'll keep himself alive all the time.
Favre's black hair is going to come back the way things are going. That's caught by David Martin at the 15-yard line. Will Witherspoon makes the tackle, and Favre, who started the game at age 35, looks like he's about 23 right now.
They can put the shovels back in the box, can't they?
2nd and 5. Brett under pressure, and that pass is incomplete. Jordan Karstens came in and forced the issue.
You know, he had 4 receivers right there in the same area, so someone, I would guess, had to go the wrong way. He had no one on either outside, and that's where he had to throw the ball. This is what he does so well. This is 2 plays ago. I mean, he looks to the left, he sees nothing. Now he knows, I got to get out here and buy some time. He starts to go to the right, buys the time, finds the open receiver. He's 6 out of 8 for 71 yards in this drive.
3rd and 5, takes the snap in the shotgun, throws over the middle, caught by Driver. 1st and goal at the 3-yard line as Marlon McCree makes the tackle.
You know, there's something that Brett Favre has from the time you see a guy open until the ball leaves, and that's quicker than most guys. You notice that? I mean, he's back there with the ball, then he sees it, boom, you know, it's right out of there.
And a timeout here is going to be taken by Green Bay.
Watch this thing and just watch the intensity on him. But when he sees the guy that he's going to throw to, right there, you see how quickly that ball is out of there? I mean, he's looking. Then when he decides, there's not much time between the decision and the throw.
And a fastball right down the middle. So without Amon Green, down by 19. And then all of a sudden they get the big break on only their 2nd takeaway of the season, 2nd in 4 games. And with Green on the bench, it's vintage Favre on this drive.
Yeah, and it's not only without Amon Green, it's without his center Mike Flanagan, without his left tackle Chad Clifton. Makeshift line.
Without Bubba Franks.
I don't know what that's a signal for. When you put both hands out like that and shake them like that.
Clean hands.
Clean hands. Everyone loosen up here. Loosen up. Everyone.
Shift change. 1st and goal at the 4. Rolling right. Chase. Throws too high. Donald Driver screaming that he was fouled.
Hey, one thing, this Panther defense is learning that you better plaster, because you know he's going to get back there in a rhythm, and then he's going to run out of the rhythm, and then he's going to buy some more time. So you not only have to cover him in the out, you have to cover him in the up, and then back in the in. Cover everything that they do, and that was a pretty good plaster job.
2nd down and goal from the 4, 3:18. And Brett will just throw that one away. Nobody could get open. Slings it out of the end zone, 3rd down. And someone
was supposed to go out there, right, because again, they had 3 guys in the middle and no one outside, and you always want distribution. And you know, he was looking for that outside receiver, and that guy that was supposed to run an out indoor corner, that's probably where he was going to throw to the corner. There was no one out there. He ran in.
From the 4, 3rd down and goal. To the back of the end zone and caught by Chapman for a touchdown. And so now it's a 5-point game, and with a 2-point conversion, they'd be within a field goal.
Yeah, so that's the play. They have to go for the 2-point conversion now. And as you say, if they make the 2-point conversion, then it's a field goal game. If they don't make the 2-point conversion here, it's still a touchdown game for them.
John Fox thinking before, you know, when he went for 2 with the 19-point lead, had he gone for 1, made it 20. Green Bay would be still down by 4, even with the 2 here. But first things first, they'll be down by 3. If they convert, 2-point conversion, Favre throws, and they are down by those 3 as Robert Ferguson makes the catch. And it's almost as if Favre cannot be stopped right now.
I'll tell you, he's thrown every kind of pass on that drive. I mean, we saw the drilling him in there. We saw the fastball. This one here is a touch pass. I mean, he just sees the guy. Here's a touchdown right here. This is a one before where he just throws it to driver. Now, usually at the back of the end zone is where you're going to find the guy, and that's where he found Chapman, I mean. And then on the 2-point, this is a touch pass that I'm just talking about, where you just lob it up over. So he throws one to driver, one to Ferguson, one to Chapman. Those are the only 3 wide receivers he has.
Amazingly enough, Javon Walker, we know, is on injured reserve. They lost Murphy before. He would have been their 3rd or 4th guy. But he has still managed to hit 10 different receivers tonight. 10.
Yeah, he's always done that. I mean, he's always distributed the ball well to his outside receivers, to his tight end, and to his running backs.
And this is the 19th tonight. Brett Favre has now thrown for 4 touchdowns tonight. 2 shy of Dan Marino as he bears down on Dan. He could catch Dan if he lasts 2 or 3 more years. He will catch Dan in touchdown passes. He will eclipse in the next year and a half, perhaps, John Elway in most wins by a starting quarterback, and a few other records along the way. Right now, long ball to kick off with 3:07 to play in regulation. And this is Steve Smith. They send Smith back to return the kickoff. And as Rod Smart did before, Steve Smith will give them good field position here with a good return out to the 36-yard line. Brett Favre on that drive throwing 10 passes.
Look at the time that he had here. I mean, he was able to look to the outside and faked at him and then come back to the inside and then go back and find Antonio Chapman.
If 32-29 sounds familiar, that was the score of the Super Bowl that Carolina lost to New England. Vinatieri kicking one at the end. From the 36-yard line, this is Davis. Stephen Davis up to the 39-yard line. Green Bay has 2 timeouts plus the 2-minute warning.
You know, you talk about, things that you have to have, your defense and your offense. You have to have your running game. If you're the Carolina Panthers, now is when you need your running game.
Please put 2:55 on the game clock.
Mike Carey putting 4 more seconds back on the clock. Timeout taken by Green Bay. So they're down to 1 plus the 2-minute stoppage.
You know, Brett Favre was very impressive on that last drive, but I don't think you can forget the offensive line. I mean, that earlier he was just running for his life, and then on that last drive, that makeshift offensive line seemed to get things under control, and Brett Favre had time back there.
Yeah, Larry Bechtel, the offensive line coach, and here's a guy who just had to pace things up and glue them together. Use some baling wire, and they got the job done with a little more left. 2nd down and 8 from the 39.
I just said it was funny. One of those plays that started Brett Favre's drive, and it was when Rucker hit him and hurt his ankle.
Yeah, we thought for a second he might have to come out of the game. 2nd down and 8. And this is Brad Hoover. And the crowd with a mixture of Hoover and booing, not liking that call.
You know, and sometimes that happens. I mean, a guy takes a hit and you think that, oh, that's it. Watch, Mike Rucker is going to come in here, and he's going to hit Brett Favre. As I was watching Favre, it looked like he was hurt, and I wasn't sure if he was going to play anymore. And not only did he play, but these are the things that he did after that hit by Rucker.
So for Green Bay, they take a timeout. It is their last. Clock will stop at the 2-minute warning.
He's starting to get a smile back on his face there. I mean, early in that first half, he kind of had that stare, and you think, that's not Brett Favre, just stare. Now he kind of got rid of that stare and all those juices that you go through you. I mean, he's the ultimate competitor.
Like you say, John, put away the shovels.
Yeah, put away the shovels. Put them back in the box.
3rd down and 7 at the 40-yard line. And Delhomme trying to convert, throws and can't. He hits Chris Mangum. He's stopped there by the rookie Nick Collins. And not only that, the clock will stop at the 2-minute warning, and Carolina is going to have to punt before the 2-minute warning.
Steve Smith was really mad because he was up beyond the first down marker. Jake Delhomme threw it to the short guy that didn't have a chance for the first down.
Jason Baker now to punt. There's about a 5-second differential between the game clock and the play clock. They'd be well advised to use all of it too. And they are. Because that way by the time the punt is over and any possible run back, you will be at the 2-minute warning. Otherwise, you're giving him, in effect, a free timeout. And it's taken by Chapman. And he's running out of bounds by Hoover, and that is the 2-minute warning. So that's the last time Green Bay can stop the clock, and they would have stopped it anyway by the exchange of possession. Change of possession. Ball at the 37-yard line. That's where Green Bay will start. Favre and the Packers down by just 3. Wide open for a touchdown. Going deep. Man open at the 30. It's Robert Brooks. Goodbye. Favre on a roll to his left. Going very deep for Driver, who gets out in front, and he's going to go all the way. A night after the passing of his father, some night's work.
Making his 200 consecutive start,
Favre cannot be stopped right now. Inside the 2-yard line and a touchdown. Just a look back at some of Brett's performances on Monday night, and another one for the books here. We'll find out. Earlier we showed you this graphic. 0-26 after trailing by 15 or more points. Well, they were down by 19. Last time we threw up one of those babies, Parcells was 77-0 in the fourth quarter and lost the game. And that's caught by Driver. And Driver's to the 49-yard line.
Tell you one thing, again, this offensive line has kind of worn down this defensive line of the Panthers because they sure aren't getting much pass rush.
49-yard line, far to the outside, and that's incomplete. Intended for Antonio Chapman. There's so much time, even without a timeout. Yeah, you're thinking field goal to tie the game, but the way things may proceed, he also could be thinking touchdown by the time this drive is over.
Yeah, time is not of the essence right now. I think, pass protection is for the Packers. Pass rush is for the Panthers.
Second down and 10. Over the middle goes Brett, and the pass is not caught. Not caught. Incomplete. Intended for David Martin, and a flag is down at the 50-yard line.
Illegal motion on the offense. Number 80 was in motion while everybody else was bidding set. 5-yard penalty is still second down.
Still second down. That's Donald Driver.
Well, they all look spent, don't they? I mean, you think of a
third down.
Yeah, I was just going to say, they didn't have to take that penalty. The pass was incomplete. It's not like a false start. You can take the down, third down.
And you think of, these receivers, and they only have 3 of them, and they've been using a lot of 3 wide receivers, and how much these guys have been running. They should be spent.
Third and 10. Favre throws. That's caught, but about 2 yards shy of the first. Ricky Manning takes down Chapman. So here's your ball game right now for Green Bay. Do or die here. Clock running down. 4th down, and they have to get a long 2.
Yeah, I think I would huddle up and make sure that everyone has the play. I think that right now a first down is more important than a time.
But they don't, and they don't convert. Intended for Driver, covered by Gamble.
I don't think there was any need to hurry.
I agree.
You have a makeshift line. You have backup players in there. Huddle them up, and give them all a chance, and then get that good fourth down play.
Absolutely, because you still had a minute. And that's the way it's going to end.
And you felt the urgency, and the Packers were feeling the urgency, and they felt they had to speed up. Although Donald Driver should have caught that.
Yeah.
I mean, the ball is right there. It's right in his hands right there. Just hold on and bring it in.
Gamble got his left hand in. And Gamble actually gets his hand on the ball as well.
Yeah, he does. I mean, that was a good play by Chris Gamble, but I think the same driver, you have that ball, it's fourth down. You have to hold on to it. Gamble has to knock it out of there.
2 kneel downs will do it. One more, and the Panthers will go to 2-2. They'll be 2 games back of Tampa. The Packers will go to 0-4. And the Packers have started 0-4 only 3 times in their history. 75 under Bart Starr, 86 under Forrest Gregg, and 88 under Lindy Infante. And they go home, and they'll meet New Orleans next Sunday at Lambeau Field. Carolina will go to Arizona. And so the Panthers, who appeared to have things well in hand, hold on and escape with a win. As Favre almost leads a miracle comeback, but comes up 3-point shot.
I tell you, I mean, there's not much solace in this. As you say, the Green Bay Packers are 0-4, but doggone it, they hung in there. I mean, they had every kind of adversity that you could, and they kept hanging in there and coming back and fighting and fighting. They could have rolled over. There was no way that they were going to. 3
pretty excruciating losses now for Green Bay. They've lost their last 3 games by 2, by 1, and now by 3. 32-29. Panthers win it. The Autotrader.com postgame show coming right up.